Cookeville Cavaliers. The lacrosse team includes players from several metro schools, including MLK, Hume-Fogg, and Hillsborough. Big congrats to the state champs. Since lacrosse is not yet sanctioned by the TSSAA, the team traveled to Alabama, Kentucky, East Tennessee, and around Middle Tennessee to play their games and finish the season with a 15-3 record before ending triumphantly in the state championship. Let's give them a round of applause.
Look at those chains.
Congratulations, young people.
All gold medalists. Love it.
Oh, man.
Smile with your
You
eyes.
have like the national anthem in the flag. Smiles, boys, smiles.
Go ahead.
Emily.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Love it.
It's not COVID, but still. Okay. Yeah. Well, we have to be specific about that.
I know she was planning to be here.
Okay. Yeah, I
what I
thought so, but.
Thanks for coming.
Can we give them one more round of applause as some of them are exiting? Congratulations. And with that, congratulations again, young people and your families on this feat. But with that, we will begin our public participation. You will have 3 minutes to speak your piece, to mention anything that you would like us to keep in mind. Your name will be listed on the monitors. You will hear this sound when your time is up. And we would ask you to close out your sentence and return either to your seat or exit through the side door. With that, we will begin with Boblin Negron. All right, Jack Wiley. Could I have someone check in the hallway and see if there are members of the public who would like to speak who are listed? For real? We'll give the first 2 listed time just to see if anyone is in the hallway. We'll move on to Jenny Halterman. Laura Dietrich. We have someone going out to check. So we'll come back to these 4, but I'm gonna keep going until we.
They're coming in, it's just traffic and highway.
Okay. Fanny Sung Whalen. Please feel free to come on up.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board. My name is Fanny Sung Whelan. I'm a parent of a first grader at Aiken Elementary. If my address is needed, I'm happy to share with the board in private after the meeting. I first want to thank Dr. Battle and those board members who voted to reinstate a universal mask policy for MNPS. In-person learning to address learning losses, as well as social and emotional needs, are on everyone's priority list. Schools need to stay open in order to do that, and without vaccinations, masks are our only next step. So thank you for believing in science and making the choice to keep our kids, teachers, and staff safe. I'm further addressing the board today to ask you to consider a layered approach to mitigating the spread of COVID in our schools, specifically by supporting an alternative lunchroom plan. The regulations we have now are less strict than what we had for the Alpha variant. Without a hybrid virtual option, schools are fuller this year than last. I do realize the difficulties and the logistics of an alternative lunch plan would bring, but I also fear that packed cafeterias with maskless kids and little room to spread out will turn into a super spreading event within our schools. I believe it's imperative that we tackle limiting the spread of COVID from all angles, and looking at cafeteria seating is one of them. I realize it's not ideal for kids to continue eating in the classroom, as many of them did last last year, as teachers need a break too. But there must be a way that schools can better utilize the space that is available to them both inside and out. Perhaps half or more of the cafeteria room could be moved outside, which would allow for more space inside to distance between kids. This would not likely require more supervising staff, thereby freeing teachers to have their much-needed break. I know of at least one metro school that has asked parents to send a towel for their child to eat on in the school lawn. Another factor to consider is that any changes to lunchroom policy would be temporary, only until our youngest kids can be vaccinated. The Delta variant has been dubbed the virus of the unvaccinated, and the largest cohort of unvaccinated are the younger kids. This variant is affecting children at a more rapid rate, and the effects of this variant seem to be more damaging to them. Our students are vulnerable. Our rates of infection in our community are climbing. We have to continue to do everything we can to keep kids, teachers, and staff safe. And applying all mitigation strategies before COVID spread occurs in our schools is one way to ensure that. Everybody counts or nobody counts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. For community members just entering the room, we'll start back at the top of the list. If you are here for public participation, meaning you are here to speak to the board, you will have 3 minutes to address us, and then you may either return to your seat or exit through a side door. Once you hear this noise, your 3 minutes is up, and we ask that you finish your sentence and either send us an email completing whatever you were going to say, or feel free to come back to see us the second Tuesday of next month. With that, we'll go back to Bobbelin Negron. All right, Jack Wiley. Jenny Halterman. Laura Dietrich. Daniel Stafford. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Daniel Stafford. I have a second grader who just started his first day in second grade at Laughlin Elementary today. I originally signed up for the same reason that Fanny, who just spoke, did, to implore the board to adopt a strict mask requirement to keep our children and our community safe. The board has done that, and so I came tonight to say thank you. You guys made the right decision, and I've been sleeping a lot more soundly over the past few evenings. I'd also like to echo the previous comments that we do need to look more closely at cafeteria policy. But mostly I want to use this time, a few moments, to preempt some of the comments I expect you will hear given the length of the speaker list, and say that in making the vote you did last Thursday, you did in fact strike a blow for freedom. The freedom to go to school safely, to be free from other families making medical decisions for you by sending infected students unprotected into classrooms and lengthening the spread of a dangerous pandemic. So I thank you for that, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mary Klein Barnes.
Hi, my name is Dr. Mary Klein Barnes, and I can share my address privately. I do have a graph that I want to share with everyone. May I approach? Originally, when I signed up to speak today, my plan was to advocate for a mask requirement in schools for safety. But things have been moving so fast with COVID. And I want everyone to refer to this graph so that you're aware of how rapidly the number of hospitalizations are rising in children right now in Tennessee. Before I came to this meeting, I found out that there are several children that were previously healthy that are in the hospital at Vanderbilt PICU right now on the ventilator with COVID. So when I first signed up to talk, I was going to be advocating for masks, and then today I had prepared a speech where I was going to be advocating for the best masks, the KN95 masks for our kids, and I was going to talk about how we really need to have a policy for children to dine in the classroom for safety so they have cohorts. My own children attend Metro Nashville Public School. This Delta variant is dangerous. The graph shows the rising number of hospitalizations of kids in Tennessee. And I'd like to thank you as members of the school board and school superintendent. You are being asked to make many decisions during this pandemic that relate to public health more than education. And the politics are very thick in our state, especially at the state government level. Thank you for applying the ethical principles of equity, paternalism, beneficence, and non-maleficence over autonomy. This COVID crisis certainly dictates that be done. So originally I had planned on advocating for the portable HEPA filters in classrooms, including the portable classrooms in the cafeteria and the gymnasium, a portable HEPA filter for every classroom. And I had planned on advocating for outdoor dining and construction of a pavilion with picnic tables for the children to eat outside. But what I'd like to do now is call your attention to the COVID thermostat that you used last year, the COVID-19 thermostat. And I'm sorry, I'm upset. Do I have one more minute or is my time over?
I'm sorry, your time is over, but please feel free to either to email us or to come back next month. Thank you for your time.
I think that the COVID thermostat needs to be looked at today because our
you.
score is 8, and that's virtual.
Thank you. David Brooks. David Brooks, Katrina Green. Sarah Manis. Pat McDonald. Laura Merritt. Gregory O'Laughlin.
Gregory.
Thank you, members of the board. My name is Greg O'Laughlin. I'm a former MNPS teacher, member of the inaugural class of the Teacher Leadership Institute back in the day of Earl Wyman and Dave Moore. I'm the founding director of the Educators Cooperative. It's a nonprofit based here in Nashville that supports teachers in all sectors and in all stages of their careers. Some of our teachers started teaching last year, and some of our teachers are celebrating more than 40 years in the classroom. We are entirely for teachers, by teachers, many of whom are amazing teachers here in MNPS. Shout out to our program director, Amy Nystrand, who taught first day of school today, 4th grade at Cole. Nice work. Yeah, excellent. Her and all the teachers. I'm grateful for this opportunity to share details of our latest program report, which I provided each of you with copies there. Thank you for ensuring the safety of everyone in this room and our students by mandating masks as well. Last year, we provided hundreds of teachers with thousands of hours of facilitated professional development, moderated workshops, resources, and support to help navigate the changing modalities. We created a report to help us understand more clearly the experience of teaching last year and the types of supports that teachers found effective. I've provided each of you with a copy there. You'll see both a measure of our impact and the experiences of teachers as well as the stories of teachers working in extraordinary circumstances. Some highlights there include 88% of teachers had their teaching setting changed at least once last year, and 63% of teachers were required to teach in 3 different settings, virtual, hybrid, and in person. Each of these switches required dozens of hours of recalibration of lessons, rewriting assessments, reconfiguring lesson delivery, each switch adding countless hours of work, communication, resetting of norms and classroom expectations. Each switch, again, subject to both political and epidemiological factors. This and many other reasons led to more than 80% of teachers reporting feeling isolated, and more than half of teachers surveyed considering leaving the classroom as a result. A key factor that helped them feel supported and provided them with access to a community of learners and resources were these Collaborates calls. It was a free program, open workshops hosted virtually every single school night from March 2020 through May 2021. We created a space for all teachers where they could receive live, regular, facilitated support and collaboration to address the challenges created by these circumstances. We connected teachers directly with professors, artists, SEL specialists, community leaders, observers, and more to ensure that they had what they needed in order to best support their students. Teachers adapted, remained flexible and focused, and handled every curveball thrown at them, and delivered some of the most creative and innovative lessons and solutions to unprecedented crises, both viral and political. We hope you and everyone listening will spend some time reading this report and digging into the extraordinary work and resilience of teachers. Teachers are amazing, and we're better together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alex Barcelona. Alexis Paulson. Nicole Torres.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board. My name is Nicole Torres. My address is 2813 Hody Drive in East Nashville. I'm here to thank you for all you've done to protect our students, teachers, and staff from the spread of COVID-19 and ask you for future action. Considering that at least half of our students are not yet eligible for vaccination against COVID-19, I urge you to continue mandating masks universally until our youngest students can be fully vaccinated. We must continue to protect our kids and reduce the spread of COVID in our community, regardless of the political tug of war when it comes to mandates. My kids attend kindergarten and third grade at Rosebank Elementary. My third grader has asthma and a rare vascular disorder, which means we are in close contact, unfortunately, with many specialists at Vanderbilt Children's Hospital. Every doctor we've talked with agrees that in-person schooling is vital for children's development, and when universal masking is in place, attending school in person is worth the risk. Again, that is with universal masking as a mitigation measure in place. I'm not advocating for universal masking because I want kids to wear masks. Masking is the only option I have right now to protect my elementary age students. Moreover, universal masking in the classroom offers the most protection for all of us. I do not believe it should be a parental or guardian choice during an active pandemic to spread a potentially deadly illness to my kids, especially when we are so close to being able to vaccinate our youngest students, which should drastically reduce their chances of hospitalization. Please continue mandating universal masking in our schools to protect my kids and all students until they are able to be fully vaccinated. Thank you for your time, consideration, and action.
Thank you. Paula Foster. Alex Barcelona. David Kales.
Hello there, my name is David Kells. My address is 1053 Gwynn Drive. I'm here to thank the Metro School Board for supporting the common sense and simple safety measures of requiring masks for all students and staff while inside Metro schools. This measure worked last year and is supported by the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics. I also want to thank both board member Emily Masters and councilperson Van Rees for their correspondence over the last couple of months and for listening to my support of masking in schools. Finally, I want to thank Dr. Battle for her voice message last night, encouraging vaccinations when available to all of our students, and explaining that these common sense safety measures will keep all of our schools open and our children learning in person really touched me. Thank you very much for all of that you guys have done. Thank you for your vote last week. Thank you for continuing to supporting masking in our schools.
Thank you. Kenneth Van Buren. Kelly Phillips.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I appreciate everything that all of you do. I appreciate all of you being here, no matter which side of this argument you are on, because we are all parents and we are all passionate about our children, no matter which side we are on. We are together in that. Can we agree on that? Yes. Again, I thank you all. I've probably taken a little bit off my time. My name's Kelly Phillips. I live at 201 Lafitte Cove in Hermitage. I'm a mother of three, 19 years old, 16, and almost 3. We have been told as parents to follow the science. In my opinion, if you follow the science, you will see that masks do not stop the spread of a small aerosol particle found in a COVID virus or a respiratory virus such as the common cold. They never have and they never will. Kids are going to touch their faces more often, especially younger ones, with these masks on their face. The masks are going to get full of germs. By the end of the day, they're going to put in pockets, backpacks. But at the end of the day, they're supposed to be brought home and disinfected because that's my responsibility as a parent. Not to mention the fact that teachers have no way to police this, whether they're placed properly here, here, or here, such as an N95 mask. If they're not put on right, they don't do any good, so why bother at all if they're not going to be used correctly? The psychological toll on young children during this, for instance, my almost 3-year-old, he has a sensory disorder. He cries when mommy has on a mask. He cries when somebody tries to make him wear a mask. Therefore, I do not go anywhere that makes him wear a mask. Dr. Battle said in her video that we don't know enough about this virus to make decisions to change our protocol. Exactly, we don't know enough about it, and I'm not willing to risk the long-term health of my child breathing in from a mask that we are meant to exhale. We exhale from our body. We don't recirculate it. When will it end? Because if it doesn't end with this, I guarantee you, it's going to come to one of you and any of you, and it will be personal, and it will be more important than a mask. Because if we don't stop it now, it won't stop. I'm not telling anybody here that you don't have the right to wear a mask. I'm not telling you you don't have a right to put a mask on your child. I'm asking you not to take it away from me. It is my God-given right. I was charged with 3 souls on this planet. I will fight until my last breath for every one of them. Till my last breath. Like I said, no matter what your stance is on this, we are united in the fact that we love our children. Let me have the right and the opportunity to decide what to put on my child. Thank you very much.
Matthew Walsh.
Hi, my name is Matt Walsh. I'm a community member in Nashville and a father of 4. You and the school board have decided that our kids should go to school all day, every day, wearing muzzles like rabid dogs. I have listened to your arguments, and I've noticed that they're missing a few things, namely evidence, data, science, common sense, and basic human decency. You've presented no facts at all, so let me do that now. Here they are. COVID poses almost no risk to our kids at all. 4.2 million children have tested positive for COVID. A total of 0.008% of them have died. Overall, 0.0004% of the child population in this country, I'm talking right now, in this country has died of COVID. Twice as many have died by drowning each year. A bathtub poses more risk to your child than COVID. Your child is far more likely to die in the car on the way to school than he is to die from COVID at school. What about the flu? The CDC estimates that 480 kids died from the flu in the 2018-2019 season. That's more than have died from COVID in a year and a half. Now, did anyone on this board suggest at any point that year that kids wear masks? Did anyone in this room suggest that at any point anyone wear masks for flu, which again is more dangerous to kids than COVID? That's a fact. Now, do you know what it's called when you force your children to wear masks for fear of a virus that poses almost no threat to them? It's called child abuse. You want to look up a disease, look up Munchausen by proxy, because that's what this is. If you think I'm exaggerating, then how would you respond to a parent who forced his kid to wear a football helmet every day, all day, for fear of falling coconuts and meteors? Your kid is almost as likely to die of COVID as he is from a rock from the sky, and yet if you saw that, you would say to that parent that he is abusive, that he is forcing his kid to participate in this utterly insane charade in order to satisfy his delusional, psychotic hypochondria. Now, do any of you know what sort of psychological damage we do to children by forcing them to cover their faces, teaching them that the air is toxic, that everyone around them is sick, depriving them of the ability to see each other's faces? Do you know what kind of damage that does? Have you thought about it? Have you wondered about the health effects of forcing kids to breathe through sweat and spit and dirt-soaked rags every single day? Are you sure that there are no health risks? Do you know what the effect is on children developmentally if they're not able to read each other's facial cues? What about learning to read and they can't see the teacher enunciating the words? What does it do to a child's developing immune system if he has to wear a mask all day, every day? Have you taken any of this into consideration at all? Well, you haven't. You're satisfied to place this burden on children anyway. And why? It's not to keep them safe. They are safe. It's not to keep the adults safe. They can all get vaccinated if they want. No, you do it to make yourselves feel better and to protect yourselves politically. The child's mask is a symbolic security blanket for you, not them. It's a disgrace, and you should all be ashamed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Amy Greer.
Amy Greer. I have a 4th grader and a 2nd grader at Granbury Elementary. It felt great to drop them off this morning for many reasons. One of those reasons being seeing all the other children in masks, seeing the teachers in masks, seeing my own kids in their masks. I felt much safer, and I want to thank you guys for implementing the policy that you did. The stats that were just presented about children dying of flu are inaccurate. As of now, we have now surpassed the number of children that have died from COVID is above the H1N1 flu year, which was considered a very tragic year for children. As of this morning, there were 17 children in ICU units across the state of Tennessee. Let's face it, this is pretty easy. This is a pretty minor thing that we can do. Having our kids home last year, that was hard. I thank you for all the extra quality time, but we've had enough. If wearing masks, social distancing, washing our hands, if it first and foremost keeps our kids safe, if it helps stop community spread, and if it keeps our kids in school, I fully support it. And I thank you guys for your leadership, and I ask that you stick to the data, do the research. The papers are out there that do show that masks help. And I appreciate all your leadership on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Eli Foster.
I wanted to start by saying this camera angle right back here shows my bald spot, so it makes me feel way older than I really am. I also wanted to say thank you. I really appreciate the thoughtfulness that all of you gave to the discussion about masking, and I just want to say thank you. I'm not here to talk about masks. I may be the first one. I'm here to talk about the bill that passed, House Bill 580. It's known as the anti-CRT bill that we just found out carries financial penalties for schools that are found to have broken this bill. And I want to ask a question. The question is really, who are we? As Nashville, who are we? See, this question, this is not the first time we've been asked this question as a city. The year was 1960, right? Students at American Baptist John Lewis, who we just celebrated on July 17th, renaming the street John Lewis Way, he was a student, right? Diane Nash, a student. Dr. James Lawson is a student at Vanderbilt Divinity School, gets kicked out of school for working for the sit-in movement here in Nashville. The sit-in movement was peaceful, it was nonviolent, and it was addressing a system of oppression that was in place here in Nashville. See, as the students came together, as the students rallied together in Nashville, more violence came against these students, as they said at the lunch counters. They had violence enacted upon them, and ultimately this violence met a head in the middle of April at Z. Alexander Luby's house. It was bombed. These students marched quietly under the leadership of C.T. Vivian and Diane Nash down Jefferson Street. They marched to the courthouse to the mayor. And there at the courthouse with Mayor Ben West was the first mayor in a southern city to say segregation is morally wrong. Nashville stood together in 1960, the first southern city to say no more of this. That's who we were then. That's who I want us to continue to grow to be. But as 1960s passed, by 1968, 69, we have white families by the thousands fleeing the city because they don't want their kids to go to school with black children. They form segregation academies, including Brentwood Academy, Nashville Christian School, and various academies at Harding Academy at that time. So the question in front of us is, who are we going to be? So really my question for you is, what can you do? As our board, you can appeal directly to the federal government based on the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to say House Bill 580 should not stand. We need to pass by the state and say, federal government, please step in. Join together with Memphis as we're challenging the bill that just got passed in the state of Tennessee. Protect me as a teacher so I can teach this history to our students about Nashville, who we can be, the Nashville of 1960 and Mayor Ben West. Thank you, all of you. Thank you.
We had a community member who was unable to hear his name. We'll go back up to number 20, Kenneth Van Buren. Kenneth Van Buren.
Good afternoon. I don't know if y'all can hear me. Okay, good afternoon to the superintendent and also to the chairman of the board. I'm speaking today. My name is Pastor Kenneth Van Buren. I'm at 2204 Buchanan Street, Apartment 7. I'm coming not today as a pastor, I'm coming today as a parent because I wanted to inform the board that you all passed a mask mandate on Thursday of last week. I've had 3 members of my congregation that contracted COVID-19. I want to inform you, yesterday, the 2nd member that contracted COVID-19 of age of 6 years old died of COVID-19. I had another one that died. You passed the mandate on Thursday. The first member was 12-year-olds died on Friday of COVID-19. This is to the parents that refuse to allow their children to wear a mask in school. No parent has a right to jeopardize my child because you don't want your child to wear a mask. I have an 18-year-old autistic AHAD child that contracted the rhino flu in February. The COVID-19 came out in March, and she's a student over at Pearl-Combe High School. They almost closed down Pearl-Combe High School just because of my child catching rhino. She didn't catch it at home, she caught it at school. Now what would happen if we didn't allow these students to wear masks? And more than 10 students caught COVID-19. You would rather prevent the train than to allow these children to be subjected to COVID-19. I'm the one who provided you all the packets, and the reason why I provided them because on your meeting last week when there was one lone board member that said she didn't have data. I'm providing you data today. 12,827, and you can add 2 more to that list today. A 6-year-old and a 12-year-old died Monday and Friday. So yes, this is your data right here. If you don't think COVID-19 is serious, I will provide this to any parent in this room that has a reason to keep their child from wearing a mask in school. I will provide this data for you. And also, Dr. Lisa Piercy of the Tennessee Department of Health said herself that COVID-19 is not going down, it's going up. It rose 35% today in Tennessee. We're not going down on the numbers, we're going up on the numbers. And I want to inform the board of that this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll jump back down to 25. Jesse Sutton. Aisha Carr.
Hello. That's the 3rd time I've talked now. It's Asha. How are you guys?
Doing well.
All right. My name is Asha. Thanks for letting me speak tonight. My address is 2305 Crescent Valley Place, Hermitage, Tennessee. I came to speak tonight because I'm extremely frustrated. Y'all decided to have a secret meeting on Thursday at 11 o'clock when people can't come to our meeting and at least be here for when you're making decisions for a vast district. I mean, you couldn't wait till today to make this. You had to make a secret meeting. It's really frustrating. So part of my reason that I'm here today is because on June 9th Here's the email that I got when I secured my son's religious exemption, that he would not have to wear a mask anymore because it goes against our beliefs. June 9th, right here. Also, I said, is this exemption going to be honored in the fall? Yes, ma'am, it will be. Right here. I get an email from his principal yesterday at 3:45. We're no longer accepting that exemption. Here's a medical paper. My husband looks at it. It says for 2020 to 2021, not even an updated form. So first of all, how am I supposed to get anything from a doctor at 3:45 in the afternoon when he started school at 8 o'clock this morning? Also, why was I informed at 3:45 in the afternoon? So let me be clear, the medical paper that I was given is not an exemption. It is an accommodation. So I'm tired of hearing, well, we can get you a medical, we can get you medical. It's not. It is not. It is an accommodation. I have to wear a shield or isolate. So I'm supposed to isolate my 5-year-old in class? Is that what we're doing now? I just heard this guy talk for 15 minutes about segregation and this and that, and you're gonna isolate my 5-year-old. My Hispanic 5-year-old. Yes, my Hispanic 5-year-old. That's my options. Wear a face shield or isolate my 5-year-old. I just don't even know anymore. Everybody, you guys, I told you last time, let's make a plan and stick to it. Like 3 weeks later, you guys changed up the plan again. Nobody in Metro, you guys over here, and over here, and over here. Just make a plan and stick to it. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. So that is what I've emailed my principal, and they still haven't gotten back to me about what I'm supposed to do for my child. So today, he was put a mask on him without my permission, and nobody called me. So I don't know who thinks that it's appropriate to be touching my child without my permission, but that's ridiculous. And Dr. Battle, I would love a phone call. Because I don't know when you think that you can let your administrator touch my child. Thank you.
Gina Hooper. Gina Hooper.
Hi, it's good to see you tonight. My name is Gina Hooper, and thank you for allowing me to have a voice today. I'm going to be reading some of what you've approved for my 4th grader, my 9-year-old, to read, and it is pretty graphic, so I just want to warn you. It's going to be, the book is called Walk of Two Moons. My mother screamed just once, one long, mournful wail, and then it was quiet. When the doctor carried the baby out of the room, I asked to see it. It had a pale bluish tinge, and there were marks on its neck where the umbilical cord had strangled it. It might have been dead for hours, the doctor told my father. I asked if I could touch her. She was still a little warm from being inside my mother. I thought maybe if I held her, she would wake up. I slept beside my mother until I heard her calling my father. When he turned on the light, I saw the blood spread out all across the bed. It had soaked the sheets and the blanket. It had soaked in the white plaster of my cast. She wouldn't stop bleeding. Later, my mother said they took out all of my equipment. She would not have any more babies. The teacher's manual gives 3 separate warnings for the emotionally mature content in this book. With all of the great literature out there, it's my question, why are we reading a book with this many warnings? Page 91 of the teacher's manual states, this sophisticated cognitive works builds a foundation for critical thinking, including concepts related to social justice. The next book is also for 4th grade for 9-year-olds called Hatchet. His mother sitting in the station wagon with the man, and she had leaned across and kissed him. Kissed the man with short blonde hair, and it was not a friendly peck, but a kiss. A kiss where she turned her head over at an angle and put her mouth against the mouth of the blonde man who was not his father, and kissed mouth to mouth, and then brought her hand up to touch his cheek, his forehead while they were kissing, and Brian saw it. Saw this thing that his mother did with the blonde man. Saw the kiss that became the secret that his father still did not know all about. To where he wanted to die. He had settled into the gray funk deeper and still deeper until finally in the dark he had gone up on the ridge and taken the hatchet and tried to end it by cutting himself. Madness, a hissing madness that took his brain. There had been nothing for him then, and he tried to become nothing, but the cutting had been hard to do, impossible to do, and he had last fallen to his side, wishing for death, wishing for an end, and slept, only did not sleep. It is completely age inappropriate to teach our 9 and 10-year-olds about infidelity and suicide. Shame on you, Metro School Board. You are dumbing our children down with Common Core math and exposing them to this illicit reading material every chance you get. You're forcing them to wear a mask for 8 hours a day, and we all know that a mask society is a slave society. You all deserve a job in Washington for what you've done here. After a summer of hope that all things would return to normal, parents control their children. It was all revoked, leaving us without a voice. There is no time for other options, nothing for my child to do but go to school in a mask in bondage. With the literacy level at an all-time low, your focus should be on teaching our kids, not putting them in masks and teaching them this filth. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. And I'd like to remind you all that Mayor Cooper has instituted a mask mandate in all public government buildings, and considering that this is a public government building, we ask that it has been mandated that you wear a mask in this building. With that being said, we'll move on to Ashley Stopler.
Hi, I know you all have a very difficult job making decisions for so many kids, so thank you for giving me the opportunity to hopefully open your mind to a new perspective. My name is Ashley Stepler and I live in Nashville. I'll share my address off the record. I'm a mom of a 4th grader and one that's going to school in 2 years, and I'm here today to bring 2 items to your attention. First, the social and psychological effects of enforcing our kids to wear a mask, and second, the chemical cleaning products used in our schools are hazardous to our children's health. These 2 items combined together are risking the respiratory health of our children and causing a psychological impact that could be short-term or long-term. There have been no long-term studies on the psychological or physical effects of kids wearing masks for long hours most days of the week. Masks have a psychological effect on kids that struggle with anxiety or any sensory processing disorders. Masks can impair the communication between student and teacher, which can lead to behavior problems, a lack of interest in learning, or other consequences. Masks can make it difficult for our kids to form friendships. By covering the lower half of our face, positive emotions are less recognizable and negative emotions are more emphasized. Giving kids so many restrictions is going to inevitably cause behavior changes. We don't know the long-term effects because we are experimenting with our kids' health right now. In addition to multiple effects masks can have on our kids, the chemicals being used inside of our schools pose another issue. The cleaning products used in our schools have ingredients that are not regulated by the FDA. I obtained a list of cleaning products that are used at my son's school, Granbury Elementary. Both HDQ Neutral and Peroxy from the company Spartan Chemical contain chemicals that are toxic to human health. For the cleaning product HDQ Neutral, on the safety data sheet, it states harmful if inhaled and do not breathe in mist, vapors, or spray. And on Peroxy safety data sheet, it states inhalation of vapors or mist may cause respiratory irritation. How did this get approved to be used in our kids' schools when there are so many safer, natural options? Our kids deserve fresh air, non-restricted breathing, and a social environment that allows them to thrive and feel encouraged to learn, not to be submerged in a distance-restricted and toxic environment. We know our kids better than you, just as you know your kids better than I do. And we deserve the right as parents to make decisions that impact the physical and mental well-being of our kids. If it risks our health, there absolutely must be a choice. And let's be honest, first are mask mandates, and we all know what mandates are coming next. Thank you for your time.
Nicole Bynum.
Dr. Battle, board members, my name is Nicole Bynum. I live at 1604 Club Parkway. You know my name, you see my face. I put my mask up after you waited till 29 people. That's fine. I'm a single mom of 2 MNPS students here to discuss masking, IEP, and why it's so important to me to bring this up. Let me first disclose, should I become emotional, I am suffering, diagnosed, and being treated for extreme anxiety, complex PTSD, and complex grief. Sometimes I can't control my emotions. Also, let me say, as someone who spends their entire workday supporting pediatric specialists, I take COVID extremely seriously, and I support every parent in this room to make the decision for their child to mask up, just as I support the providers that I spend 10 to 15 hours a day making sure their life goes easier. My life is dedicated to my children. And now, as I mentioned, I'm a single mom. One just went into the 3rd grade today at Westmead. Another my oldest, who should be graduating with the class of 2022 and turning 18 years old in 225 days. He's not going to. He died at 14. On my now 9-year-old's 6th birthday. He left Hillwood High School, got off the bus, walked into our home, took a bed sheet, tied it around his neck, to a ceiling fan and he took his life. My 6-year-old came home on his birthday to find his brother and his hero wrapped up with his neck broken and his face blue. He couldn't breathe. I'm sorry. My son was an accelerated learner with plans to pursue medical school. His focus was interventional radiology. My 8-year-old, 2 months prior to losing his brother on his 6th birthday, was tested and diagnosed with ADHD dyslexia. Prior to that, he had been diagnosed by his primary with an anger disorder, and now, obviously, he has PTSD. My son cannot read. He couldn't learn the entire virtual year because I was working, supporting the physicians, and I couldn't sit with my hyperactive child and help him figure out virtual school. We had 5 different laptops. Y'all all know my name. My son was so excited to go back to school, and now he's angry and he's confused and he doesn't understand why there's other people walking around without a mask, and he has to. What has he gone through? What have I done now? He's lost everything. He lost his brother on his birthday. In his words, he said, "Mom, this just isn't fair. It's just not fair. My son is 8 and he can't read." I feel that you putting a mask on my son puts him in greater danger. Again, I support and respect how serious COVID is, but do anybody in here, do y'all know the suicide attempts and the suicide rates? Do y'all know those rates? My son lost a year of learning already. I just want him to be a child. He's gone through more than most adults. I'm glad you see my face. Thank you for your time.
You're great. Paige LeGrone Babcock.
Hello, everyone. All of you have received many emails from me over the many years that I have been a Metro Schools parent and a teacher. I am a teacher at Apollo Middle School. My husband teaches at J.E. Moss Elementary, and our son is at Hillsborough High School. So I watched the school board meeting last Thursday during my lunch break. I was a teacher in service, and it just coincided with the time that I could sit down and eat my salad. And then following that, over the weekend, I saw a news story that was filmed in this very room just following the vote, where a parent unhappy with the mask mandate told a news reporter that America is not about the collective good, but about individual liberty. As shocking as I found her words, I was glad that the argument for personal choice was put so plainly as a message of what individuals want and not what a school system needs. I get that some of us need something different. I've been working with children with IEPs and 504s for years. So some folks need something different. But as a parent and as a teacher in my classroom family, that I try to facilitate with my kids every day and with my own child at home. Making choices and taking actions for the collective good is exactly what I want to model. We're in this together. It's not about what we want now. It's about what's good for all of us. Masking is simply a proven strategy to help all of us have greater health and greater success and stay in school. I taught virtually all last year, as did my husband. Our son learned virtually all last year. I am so grateful for that option, but it was really hard. I want to be in class with my kids. I want my student to be in class with his IB teachers. I want him to have those rich conversations in person. But I'm here mostly this evening just to say thank you, because we know that this issue is such a hot button issue. People get very worked up, understandably, but I appreciate the rich conversation that you have had, looking at the data and making a choice that is good for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. Olin Babcock.
He's not here. I couldn't get him in time to get him here. Sorry.
Thank you. Kristen Dillard.
Friends, hi, my name is Kristen Dillard. I am the mother, the divorced mother, FYI, of a second grader at Waverly Belmont. first day, if you can't tell. And I'm sorry that I did not prepare a speech, was not sort of drawn here by any sort of organized anything. I just really wanted to come and step up today and just thank you very, very, very much for taking the safety and the health of my child and my family and my community sort of first. I respect all opinions, and I totally understand that we are all looking at the same set of facts, and we are all prioritizing what our priorities are and creating opinions on what should be done based on our personal priorities and opinions of the facts. And I respect every opinion of every person who has any bit of an opinion about COVID, but I appreciate this body's rising above that and making a factual understanding and a recognition of what will be safest for the entire community. And I want to promise you that my daughter is not a big fan of wearing a mask all day, and I did have to keep her home all year last year, so today was her very first day in a mask the entire day, and so I completely understand that there are frustrations around that. I definitely could spout off a lot of facts that would support my opinion, but I know that we know all of them. Nothing is going to be surprising if I pop up some fact on this side or that side. We've heard them all. We know them all. I know this. I've mentioned that I am divorced. There is only one thing that my ex-husband and I agree on when we are co-parenting, and that is the one of us whose opinion errs on the side of more caution and safety, that person's opinion goes. It does not matter how strongly the other person's opinion is. If I felt like my daughter could climb up the stairs at 4 months and my ex-husband felt like that was dangerous, he wins, because we err on the side of more safety and caution for our children. And I appreciate you doing the same for our community and our families. And I just continue to want to say thank you. I want to say thank you 20 times, because I have never been so relieved about anything as I was dropping my daughter off to school today. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Tom Weiser.
My name is Tom Weiser. I've been born and raised in Nashville, lived here my entire life. What happened here was the gradual habituation of the people, little by little, to being governed by surprise, to receiving decisions deliberated in secret, to believing that the situation was so complicated that the government had to act on information which the people could not understand. It could not be released, even if they could understand it, because of national security. I thought the Board of Education would appreciate the historical excerpt from Milton Myers, They Thought They Were Free, Nazi Germany, 1933 through 45. Now let me state this, all face masks, all of them, face mask, cloth mask, N95, surgical mask, K95, all are under emergency use authorization. As such, they are experimental medical devices. This is from the FDA, the government scientific agency responsible for issuing authorizations and approvals of diagnostics, medical devices, drugs, and vaccines. As a condition of authorization, manufacturers and distributors are strictly prohibitive of all masks from claiming they can work. That would be false advertising. And I quote from the emergency use authorization, "The product must not be labeled in such a manner that would misrepresent the product's intended use. For example, the labeling must not state or imply that the product is intended for antimicrobial or antiviral protection or related uses, or is for use such as infection prevention or reduction. Anything else, that any claim otherwise is a lie, and it violates the conditions of authorization. Furthermore, they are authorized for use as source control only, meaning the wearer is infected and contagious. All of you with masks on are communicating you are afraid you are infected and contagious right now, based on this federally issued emergency use authorization. It is psychological abuse to force people to behave as if they are sick when they are not. It's called factitious disorder by proxy. And it is child abuse when done to children. You all have no excuse. Executive orders are not an excuse. Recommendations, policies are not an excuse. We are violating established medical research ethics, informed consent. And we all know they were derived from Nuremberg, Germany.
Yes. Thank you for your time. Suzanne Thowen.
Good evening, Chair and board members. My name is Suzanne Thowen, and I live in Antioch. And I'm here to discuss the third grade book called Shark Attack and how it damages our children. First, before I start, I want to say that fear is not what we should be instilling in our children. Yet, this book, Shark Attack, has very graphic illustrations of real-life shark attacks. The first story tells us about a man who was attacked, and it shows the side of his body caught in the shark's mouth with blood coming out. Then it shows another picture where the man tried to get away, but the shark snagged him and pulled him under. Fortunately, he escaped. There's also a real photograph showing the entire bite and the scars left by it. The second story is about a man who was attacked, and it took 6 lifeguards to pull him out of the ocean. The third story is the most terrifying one because it doesn't take place in the ocean. They decided to include a story that takes place in a creek involving a 12-year-old boy, very close to 8, 9-year-olds, who are the readers here, who was attacked by a shark in the creek. A man saw the child scream, go under the water, went to pull the child's lifeless body, as it says in the book, out when he felt a bump on his leg and realized that, as the book says, part of his leg had been ripped away. They had been attacked by a shark. Both the man and the boy died. Even to adults, these are terrifying stories. Yet this is what our 8 to 9-year-olds are reading for English literature arts. English literature arts. There are plenty of interesting and informative books about sharks that we can share with third graders that don't have to have terrifying stories or illustrations in this. We must do better than this. And really quickly, because I have a few moments left, no one wants anyone to get COVID, but did you know there are 3 medically proven protocols that cure COVID-19? Hundreds of thousands have been cured. These have been suppressed by our media, but they are hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and budesonide, combined with zinc, vitamin D, vitamin C. They work. They even help people in hospitals that have been denied early treatment, and they've been told to come back when they're on their deathbed, practically. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. I will again remind everyone in this room that there is a mask mandate in place by our mayor, and this is a government building.
We don't care.
With that in mind, we will empty the room. We're going to pause this meeting, empty the room, and only those with masks will be re-allowed in. Board, please take a break for about 5 minutes. Security, if you would not mind helping us with that. Thank you so much.
The governor issued a different order.
Thank you, community members, for your flexibility. Again, we have cleared out the room to make sure that only the masked are allowed in. If at some point you take off your mask and you are not eating or drinking actively, please step out, or we will ask you to be escorted out. With that in mind, we will pick back up with public participation where we left off. Jennifer Conder.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board. I'm Jennifer Conder. I live at 908 Steeplechase Drive. And while the hot topic tonight is the mask issue, among other things, I don't want to lose sight of the big picture, and that's actually what's being taught to our children in these classrooms. And so I'm here to voice my opposition to the Wit and Wisdom curriculum. Specifically, I want to talk about the fourth grade curriculum, which includes 3 different books that emphasize cannibalism. The book Understanding Greek Myth says, "It might seem unusual to us, but many myths include stories of people, mainly children, who are sliced, cooked, and eaten. In Pushing Up the Sky, there's a play that the children are called to act out. It's called The Cannibal Monster. The play uses phrases like run for your lives and eaten alive. This is a story about how the cannibal monster wanted to kill and eat people, but Brown Bear killed it. However, Brown Bear ignored the advice of the raven and burned the cannibal monster. From the fire, you hear the monster say, 'You have set me free. Now I'll eat you forever.' The book says the smoke is turning into little creatures, and a woman cries, 'They are eating us alive.' The teacher's manual continuously emphasizes this happened because the people disobeyed." And in the book Gifts from the Gods, the story says, he invited the gods to a banquet at his house and had his own son, Pelops, cooked up and served as a meal. Nobody knows why he did such a dreadful thing. Also from the book is the story of the Furies, which include these excerpts. Wearing long black robes fastened around the waist like snakes, they hounded lawbreakers, especially murderers. Serpents twined through their long white hair and coiled around their arms. Blood dripped from their black eyes. The men, seeing the dark, flapping shapes approaching, ran in terror. Calling down curses, the Furies lashed their whips till the murderers bled. Down the snake slid, winding, twisting, but never biting their victims. Instead, they exhaled poisonous fumes that affected men's minds, and the men began to rave. Refusing to give them any rest, the Furies chased and tormented the murderers until at last they went mad. Even though the Furies existed to avenge evil, all people, good and bad, were scared of these goddesses, for who among us has never done anything wrong? As you can see, there's just some examples of the terrifying imagery, both in pictures and in words. This is the stuff nightmares are made of. This is the stuff that kids come in your room at night and want to sleep with you because they're scared. What is this doing to 9 and 10-year-olds? And more importantly, why are you teaching this to 9 and 10-year-olds when there's so much good literature out there? I urge you to reconsider removing the Wit and Wisdom curriculum and replacing it with something much more age-appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Amity Marsh.
Good evening, Chairwoman Buggs and members of the board. My name is Amity Marsh, and I'm representing Moms for Liberty. I live in Davidson County in District 2. I will be speaking on some of the books being used in the 5th grade that include inappropriate subject matter. First one, Thunder Rolling in the Mountains. This book is full of graphic violence. I'm going to read the yellow highlighted excerpts that were pulled from this book. To kill us, setting fire to the tents. Shoot a soldier. I shot him too. Bullet went in the back of his shoulder and came out through his chest. So many bullets. The bullet would strike him squarely in the back. I began to squeeze the trigger. I saw the dead people. Killed, kill. Shot echoed. Antelope fell dead. Swiftly, she grabbed my ear and thrust the needle through it. A bullet struck him in the head. We will kill them all. Killed the old man. Took his knife. With a stone knife, he cut the monster's heart from its body. Murdered. Soldier shot. Killed. Bullet struck her in the chest. She got the gun from him and took careful aim and shot him in the face. He smashed his rifle butt into her face, wiping the blood from his knife. I felt a noose slip around my neck. It drew tight and the world went black. Kill. I saw myself killed. I will kill some soldiers. We are all going to die. The second one is The River Between Us. This book contains many references to alcohol, promiscuity, and the negative portrayal of women. This is a book that our 10 to 11-year-old children are reading. I will read the yellow highlighted excerpts that were pulled from this book. She had a powerful effect on the male sex. She can come in handy. She is meant for men. What men do best is walk away from women. Painted up little floozy. I've held on to my husband unlike some I can name, pressed her feather fan against her bosom, and cast great fringed eyes at him. She's switching her skirt tails up and down Front Street even as we speak. And the men in his town is staring holes in her, the brazen little hussy. He's drunk. All men are drunkards, some of them staggering drunk. The other were half drunk, reeling drunk, and fighting drunk. Rum, I had to get him drunk to take his arm. Smoking their El Sol cigars and drinking from small silver cups, and I doubt it was medicine. It's also discussed term placage. This is what can be found in the teacher's manual regarding placages. What is placage? Described page 128. How does the custom of placage help you understand Delphine's family and their relationship? She described page 128. It's an arrangement for a white man to take care of his colored mistress and their daughter. It helps us to understand that Delphine's grandmother and grandfather and her mother and father did not marry, but they had children together. What type of message do these books teach our children? What about children that are within MNPS who are ESL? One of the big concerns is how the teacher's manual instructs the teachers on how to teach the material. How are these books encouraging our children to read? Thanks for your time.
Thank you for your time. Cindy Goddard.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board. My name is Cindy Goddard. I live in Donaldson, District 4 in the McGavock cluster. First, I'd like to say I'm in total support of no mask because of their harmful effects for the children. I believe parents should be given a choice. But tonight, I need to discuss the second grade book, Ruby Bridges Goes to School. I want to clarify that Moms for Liberty is not against teaching about Ruby Bridges. We support what Ruby Bridges wrote about. We support her story. We believe in what she did. We believe in the fight she put up. And most importantly, we believe that her fight was worthwhile. She created a change in our culture, in our country, that now allows kids of all colors to go to school together. For years, she has spoken highly of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his dream. She has even said recently that children are born colorblind. Miss Ruby says children don't see criticism. It is something that is taught. Our concern with Wit and Wisdom and the way they are teaching Ruby Bridges is that it is teaching division, drawing attention to division, and it's creating racism rather than bridging the gap between the differences in people where kids do not even notice those differences. This is an ELA curriculum, and it's having teachers focus on racial slurs, negativity, and does not give credit to the fact that Ruby Bridges changed the civil rights movement when she integrated her grade school. There are 2 Ruby Bridges books. The Wit and Wisdom curriculum uses the version with the N-word and then directs the teachers not to ignore it, but actually instructs the teachers to draw attention to it and also ask the kids to have a discussion about it. This is not acceptable. Teach Ruby Bridges, teach accurate history, but let's not teach our kids the N-word. The second book, Separate is Never Equal, is also taught in 2nd grade. The teacher's manual states the text is too complicated for the kids to even read. So instead, the teacher has the kids focus on the pictures. The illustrations include Mexican children behind fences at a pool that has a sign reading, "No dogs or Mexicans allowed." The Mexican children eat their lunch in a pasture with the cows and the flies. Statements from the book include, and I quote, "They have problems with lice, impetigo, and tuberculosis. They generally have dirty hands, face, neck, and ears." One character asked, "Do you believe white students are superior to Mexicans in personal hygiene, scholastic ability, clothing, and their ability to take part in the activities at school?" And the character answers yes. These statements are never corrected in the book. The story is about a remarkable family fighting for equality that they deserve, but it's taught at an inappropriate level, and the children cannot fully understand the gravity of the landmark decision. It's another example of an age inappropriate and does not fully balance the historical account. Thank you for your time.
Adrian Figueroa.
Great pronunciation, thank you.
Madam Chair, distinguished board members, good evening. My name is Adrienne Figueroa, and my family resides in Bellevue. My children are zoned for Harpeth Valley Elementary. Fear. Fear is powerful. Fear can cause numerous harmful responses in children, from weakened immune systems to GI issues, anxiety, behavioral changes, severe depression, and worse. Wearing a mask all day is a deviation from normal behavior, and as such is fear-inducing in children. When people are operating within a state of fear, their ability to think critically is compromised. As fear produces anxiety, it becomes difficult to make decisions, to think clearly, or more importantly, to learn. One of the most misleading lines to come out of this pandemic is that kids are resilient. If that's the case, then why are millions of adults working with professionals to process childhood trauma? Kids are vulnerable. Their mental health must not be ignored, and it isn't just being ignored by the people sitting in front of me. It's being dismissed, as you have been prompted to operate outside of your authority. We've been told to wear masks to prevent COVID transmission, even while many boxes of disposable masks display a warning that they will not provide protection from COVID-19 or other airborne viruses. We should take measures to protect the community, but these cannot be feel-good measures that provide minimal benefit while imparting harmful effects on our children. Again, we can and should take measures against this virus, but mask mandates are not an acceptable mitigation strategy. I would sooner propose temperature checks to be performed during morning arrival over our kids being forced to mask up all day long. By continuing this charade, we are perpetuating a world of fear. You are perpetuating a world of fear for our children. The negative effect that this is having on the well-being and education of our children is inexcusable. Allow parents to exercise their right to perform their own risk assessments and to choose what is best for their child. Take the masks off of our kids now. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Mary French.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board. My name is Mary French. I live on Belmont Park Terrace in Davidson County. I'm a former second grade school teacher in Metro. Let me introduce you to a book 6-year-olds in first grade in Davidson County will be reading this year. This book is called Seahorse, the Shyest Fish in the Sea. First graders will read about the mating and reproduction of seahorses, the only fish that has opposite gender roles for this purpose. The children are provided many illustrations and talk excitedly about the mating process and the positions. Quoting, "They twist their tails together and twirl gently around, changing color until they match. The two of them dance till sunset, and then she puts her eggs into his pouch." A few weeks later, Seahorse finds a quiet place to hide among the corals. It is time for the babies to be born. He works hard all day and through the night, bending, squeezing, and pushing and shooting hundreds of babies out of his pouch. Accompanying this lesson is a video that visualizes this process and ends with this quote, "We humans tend to think of who we are as mostly fixed. But in the ocean, identity can be a fluid and mysterious thing." The teacher's manual goes on to emphasize how seahorses mate and repeatedly talks about how the male is the one who has the babies. Reproduction isn't even a science standard for first grade, yet they are focusing on mating and reproduction with first graders. The question must be asked, why did the writers of this book pick the one fish that has opposite gender roles to portray this? I think everybody in this room knows why. Many of us parents and grandparents are extremely concerned and angry about this very inappropriate curriculum for our elementary school children. And we ask you to do something about it immediately. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for your time. Carolyn Lutz.
Quit perverting our kids.
Good evening. My name is Carolyn Lutz, and I live in Old Hickory. I've never done this before, so forgive me, because I don't actually have a speech. I'm just very frustrated. I actually don't even have my son in school anymore, because after when COVID started in 2020 and the school went virtual, it was very, very apparent that he was not going to learn anything. So I started teaching, and my daughter actually helped me teach him. Then this year, when we found out that there's a very good possibility that we're going to be wearing masks, I said, no way. I am not subjecting my son to wearing a mask every day, especially since we've already had COVID. He got through it fine. Our whole family got through it. I'm not saying that other people haven't. I get that. But if you're going to talk about the science, let's really talk about the science. Like, for instance, the CDC. You know, the CDC is not government. They're a privately owned company. So why are we listening to them about the science, especially when they change the science like every week? So first we're supposed to wear masks, then we don't have to wear masks, then we all have to get vaccinated. Well, guess what? Now vaccinated people are getting COVID, so what's up with that? You know, and I'm not saying that you guys have a job to do, and I totally get that, but I honestly don't believe that this mask is working at all. And I can't believe that just a normal human being can think that it does. I mean, I can, you know, you can breathe through it. So if you can breathe through it, a virus can get through it. It just makes no sense to me at all, why, and especially why we're masking our children when they have a 99.99% chance of, first of all, not hardly spreading it, and second of all, of surviving it, which, again, and how about the PCR test? We just found out, didn't we? We all know now that the PCR test is not a good test. They can't tell between COVID and the flu. So how about, we don't know, do we? Nobody knows. We don't know if we all had the flu or if we had COVID. Or the Delta variant. Which, is there really a Delta variant? We don't know, because it could just still be the flu. I mean, and it's not that I understand there is a COVID. I totally get that. I understand that some people died from it, but I don't think everybody died from it.
Thank you for your time. Karen Sun.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board, Dr. Battle. My name is Karen Sun. I teach at East Nashville Magnet Middle, and I reside in Vice Chair Elrod's district. I wanted to thank y'all for implementing a mask mandate last week. I don't know if other people in my building felt the same way, but I definitely considered quitting about like 4 times pretty seriously before Thursday. And it's not that I don't love kids, but I also like, you know, being alive, not struggling to breathe because of COVID, and want to visit my family members at some point. I know myself and my colleagues feel much safer with this mask mandate. My kids understand that even though they don't like it, it is really necessary if they want to keep each other, their teachers, and their family members, and their caregivers, guardians, parents safe. I applaud your bravery and integrity in doing what is right, even when there are those who spread misinformation that makes it particularly difficult to do so. I'm here just because I'm wondering if there is a contingency plan in place if worst comes to worst, if when really the COVID numbers and Delta variant numbers continue to rise, if the vaccine remains unavailable for younger children, to move back to virtual, which I don't really want to do or really want to happen, but I think is a valid consideration at this point in time. I also re-emphasize the need for the return of a continually updated MNPS COVID thermometer and full transparency on active cases within the district. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you for your time. Cassie Norton.
My name is Cassie Norton. I live at 2822 Airwood Drive. First, happy first day of school, everyone. I'm really grateful for the decision to require masks in our schools so that we could have a safe and joyful first day back today. And it was really joyful. And I felt a lot safer having masks, and I know a lot of my coworkers and students did too. We know a year and a half into this pandemic that masks prevent the spread of COVID and they save lives, so thank you. I'm here tonight to ask what other steps we're going to take to keep students, families, and staff and the community safe. Many members of our community are still unable to get vaccinated, and the Delta variant is extremely contagious. But we have fewer safety requirements in place now than we did in the spring. I'm hoping we can bring back the thermometer from the spring to track the risk as it changes. I want to know, what is the plan for testing and reporting data? Is there any plan to return to virtual or hybrid if cases continue rising and hospital beds continue filling? These are questions that I have. I'm also very concerned that there's no clear quarantining procedure in place. Many of us are being told that students and teachers who test positive are still expected to come to school if we don't show symptoms. We've known for a long time that asymptomatic people can still give COVID to others, so that seems extremely dangerous. I'm also concerned that staff are expected to take unpaid time off if we get COVID or have to quarantine after we've run out of sick days. This is especially difficult for new teachers who just don't have very many sick days yet, or teachers who have medical conditions so they have to be more careful and quarantine more often. I'm hoping that you'll use COVID relief funds, the ESSER funds, to provide additional sick days and pay more subs so that we're not risking sick people coming to school and spreading COVID. The pandemic isn't over. We can't go back to normal quite yet. I know these are difficult procedures to discuss and decisions to make, but you have a lot of lives in your hands, so I hope you're taking it seriously. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Christina Parrish.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Christina Parrish, and I'm a parent of a second grader at Rosebank STEAM Elementary Magnet School. I also happen to have the crazy task of being president of the PTA this year. I live on Groves Park Road in East Nashville. I would like to thank the board for following the guidance of the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics by implementing a mask mandate for the current school year. I encourage you to please keep this policy in place until students who are not yet eligible to receive the vaccine are able to, and the Delta variant is under control. We chose to send our son to school in person last year because we felt secure in the knowledge that masks work. We feel exactly the same way about his attending school in person this year. I mean, nobody really loves wearing masks, but they work. He was safe all of last year. I want to express my sincere gratitude for your swift implementation of this policy ahead of the school year so my son and his peers can safely celebrate this new season of second grade. I care for the well-being of my child, but I also care deeply for every child in this community. While it appears to be true that children are at a much lower risk for serious illness from COVID than other segments of the population, the fact remains that all children under 12 are not yet able to be vaccinated, some of which are truly vulnerable to this virus. It is no great sacrifice, as far as my family is concerned, to wear a mask when a mask could save a life. Many families have waited patiently to return to in-person safe learning, and we are happy to welcome them back to school with a smile behind our masks until the day comes when vaccines are accessible to all kids and we can party again like it's 2019. I recognize that you are likely to experience angry dissent after enacting this policy by some, but thank you from the bottom of my heart, my family's heart, for following the science and trusting doctors and pediatricians, and most of all, protecting the youngest and most vulnerable populations who are unable to advocate for themselves. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Patrick O'Brien.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Chair, for your time this evening. My name is Patrick O'Brien. I'm a teacher at Cane Ridge High School in Southeast Nashville. I'm also a member of a resident in District 6. So I wanted to address you tonight about several things. First of all, the CDC is a federal agency. It's not privately owned. I teach government for a living. The preamble of the United States Constitution does not have the word I or my in it anywhere. It actually starts with we, the people, and talks about the common defense and general welfare. Doesn't say anything about personal choice, doesn't say anything about individualism. As a matter of fact, uses words that suggest that what we face is a collective action problem. This collective action problem requires us to harness all of the resources that we have, all of the information we have, to make decisions that are best for a lot of students and a lot of people. Because it's a collective action problem, I want to thank you for the bold action you took last week. School boards across the country right now, in Broward County in Florida and in other places, are taking this action, in Dallas, Texas, because they realize with a lack of leadership at the state level, individual school boards are going to have to take this action. We as teachers thank you for taking this bold action in the face of some very sharp dissent. It's going to save the lives of some of our kids. There are some students that are going to be alive because we have a mask mandate in place. The challenges that this presents are a collective action problem. I'm going to echo what Cassie Norton said and say we do need COVID leave if teachers do get sick. We are limited with our number of sick days, particularly teachers who have families. Particularly teachers who have families who might use those sick days for something else as it comes across in the school year. It's a 180-day school year. We need to have that as an option with the ESSER funds, and we request that you do that. We also ask, again, for the thermostat. The thermostat was an awesome tool in the spring. It was something we could explain to students and families really easily and was very clear, and it provided a level of transparency that helped us fight all the misinformation that's out there. And there is a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of folks who aren't reading. There are 160 pediatric ICU cases in Florida right now, a state where there was no mask mandate. They have not even opened schools in most of Florida, and they have 160 cases. They have more cases than the state of California, which has over double the population. This is a collective action problem, and I just want to thank you on behalf of the teachers and the community for taking the action that you did. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Julie Trudel.
Hi, members of the board, chair. My name is Julie Trudell, and I live and work in District 6 in Antioch. I work at Antioch High School. I'm a Nashville native and MNPS alumnus in my 5th year teaching in this district. As the Delta variant increases, we are again reaching reported case numbers that mirror January's cases, while testing has gone down. We now have a mask mandate, and I thank you so dearly for that, but that's not enough. During the second wave, now teachers are expected to use their sick leave if they contract COVID, as Cassie and as Patrick mentioned. Where sick leave runs out, we have to use unpaid leave, putting teachers in the position of choosing between their livelihood and public health. We have, as you know, we have $276.7 million in ESSER 3 funds, which only 20% are pre-allocated. And that's more than twice the amount that we had in March of 2020. We need to hire more subs and reinstate emergency COVID leave to keep our community safe and let learning happen. I was going to share that, like, on Thursday, I had a bit of a sore throat. I am vaccinated, and I had to take a sick day to go and, like, get tested and make sure I was safe, negative on all counts. But I can't imagine doing that with, like, and worrying about the kids and worrying about all of these other things and having to balance those priorities, and we shouldn't have to. Yes, please approve use of the ESSER 3 funds for more subs and COVID leave pay. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Kellyanne Graff.
Hello, board. It is so good to see you again. I live in Peter Player's district, and I teach in Fran Bush's district. I teach at Thurgood Marshall Middle. In Antioch, we had we were hit the hardest by COVID, like in the city. And I want to make sure that we are looking at student well-being and that their needs are viewed holistically. So I want us to be thinking about the issues of community spread. I want us to be thinking about how that impacts family health, how that impacts employment and housing of families across our city, and the ripple effects that the health within our schools has on our city and in turn on the mental health of our children. So we've seen Delta variant going up, that it's more transmittable, that it has a higher impact on children, that half of our students are not eligible for the vaccine. And I'm just really concerned. I'm grateful for the mask mandate, but I'm wondering what else. I don't mean to be a tattletale right now, but I want you to be aware of what is happening in our buildings, being back for 1 week and a day. We've seen parents come in, teachers, with children sick with COVID at home, and they're there in the building that day because that is their job. They're vaccinated, but this is what like the current procedures are. Or maybe they're not enforced enough, or maybe they're not known enough. We've seen admin come in with spouse at home with COVID. We've seen teachers contract COVID at school buildings from just 1 week of in-person PD and teacher plannings before students even arrived. What else are we going to do to keep us safe, to keep our families safe, to keep our city operating, and to end this virus that will keep mutating if we don't lock it down? I'm afraid of taking my sick days to go get tested. I'm afraid of my concerns not being taken seriously. Last year when my spouse was showing signs of COVID, I was told to come in because I was vaccinated. I took a sick day and I went and got tested, but I was told to come in. This is what is happening in schools, and what are we going to do to make sure that those decisions for public safety are not being placed on individual teachers, because we have seen that individualism is not solving this pandemic. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. Michelle Sheriff.
Good evening, Chair, Dr. Battle, members of the board. My name is Michelle Sheriff. I'm current president of Metropolitan Nashville Education Association and starting my 29th year with MNPS. Originally, I had a speech to speak about some of the things that you've heard. Some of the concerns echoed already about taking sick leave when people have to quarantine. What are the protocols for learning to continue if teachers or students have to quarantine? And I'm not going to repeat what you've already heard. I feel very confident that we can work with the district. We've developed relationships to resolve these issues, to put protocols in place that keep everyone safe and learning. What I do want to say to you tonight is just thank you. I know it's a thankless job a lot of times, so thank you for following the science. Thank you for doing what you know needs to be done to keep everyone safe and healthy. And you have a lot of students, you have a lot of staff, and you also, what MNPS does affects the community as a whole. So going forward, we have new officers, myself, Paula Pendergrass, Jane Riand. We have an organizing director, Sarah Duran, and we look forward to continuing to work with you on issues in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Paula Pendergrass.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Battle, and members of the school board. I'm Dr. Paula Pendergrass, the Vice President of MEA, and I'm here to speak in support of the Memorandum of Understanding. During the fall of 2020, the Metropolitan Nashville Public School Board of Education and representatives of the professional employees of the Metropolitan Nashville Education Association, as provided under Tennessee Code Annotated 495605, enter into collaborative conferencing to reach agreements for the purpose of establishing, maintaining, protecting, and improving conditions of employment. Through the course of 2 semesters, both parties agreed to participate in good faith collaboration with the duly designated representatives of the other party. Upon viewing the MOU, you will see the various matters we discussed and finalized. The content consists of working conditions, fringe benefits, grievances and procedures, insurance, attendance, and leave of absence, just to name a few. We were able to improve the Teacher of the Year process to help ensure educators have a better opportunity to become aware of their colleagues' work and credentials. We also included language to provide adequate and appropriate space for all professional employees who work in more than one school building. Furthermore, we established equitable planning time for all educators to help in the district initiative of making sure every student is known. I would like to personally thank the following teachers who gave several hours during this time while also juggling their other school and district responsibilities. Amanda Baker, Mary Jo Cram, Sarah Duran, Tara Johnson, Amanda Kale, Laura Leonard, Kenny Martin, Michelle Sheriff, and Bev Whalen Schmiller. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak in favor of the Memorandum of Understanding.
Thank you for your time. That will close out public participation for today. Thank you to all of our speakers and those who stayed to listen to them. With that, we will move on to governance issues and our consent agenda. There's one amendment that will be made. Item C19 will be removed for some technical issues that need to be shored up over the next couple of days, but it will be brought to the next meeting. With that, are there any other amendments to this consent agenda? Mrs. Tyler?
Can I pull item 1C14, the Nashville teacher residency?
Okay, we have 1C14. Any others? All right, with that, do I have a motion to accept the amended agenda?
I move approval of the consent agenda as amended.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please raise your hand. It passes unanimously. We will begin with 1C14, Nashville teacher residency. Ms. Tyler, will you begin with a motion, and then we'll open for discussion.
So I know that the Tennessee State University got pulled because of some technical issues as far as just the adding up the money. But even if we readjust that, there's still kind of a big difference between the amount of money that we're paying the Nashville teacher residency for them to provide diverse teachers for our programs and the TSU to provide diverse teachers to our program. So I just had a question about why do we have such a different amount that we're paying to each entity for the same result?
Dr. Battle?
Thank you, Dr. Herbert.
Chairwoman Buggs, we need a motion before there can be discussion.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Tyler, would you mind, Mrs. Tyler, would you mind offering a motion?
Well, I mean, it depends. I don't know that I want to make a motion to approve it if I don't get the right questions answered. I don't understand. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what I should do.
Well, we can make a motion and then open for discussion.
Go ahead, just a point of order. And Ms. Robert, would it not be appropriate if she moved for deferral at this point? You can make a motion to defer.
Okay.
Get a second, then open for discussion. You can then rescind your motion if you choose that the discussion puts you on one side or the other more definitively.
Okay. So I would say that I move to approve it.
You can move to defer now.
Okay.
To open the discussion.
Okay. I move to defer.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. So we've had a question from Mrs. Tyler. Dr. Battle, how would you like to move forward?
Dr. Barnes, would you approach the podium, please?
Ms. Tyler, I know we spoke earlier. Can you restate your question, please?
Yeah, I know that we pulled TSU because there was a little bit of a discrepancy on the last bit of it, but even if we fix that discrepancy to the correct numbers that it's supposed to be, there's still a pretty big difference in the amount that we're paying Nashville Teacher Residency and TSU for essentially the same product. And so I was just wondering, why is there such a large difference? And
Sure. So the cost of what gets paid to our employees is the same. The difference is Nashville Teacher Residency does have $5,000 that gets paid after the close of the first year and an additional $5,000 that they charge us after the second year. We are up for the ability to not hire those people, so the money is contingent on us hiring them as employees. We have found that we really enjoy the relationship we've built with NTR, that their quality of candidates is very high. They have a large cohort of candidates of color. And so we appreciate the opportunity to spend a whole year getting to know them and work with them before we hire them, and that relationship has been built over time. So that's, they are one of the agencies that does cost an additional amount.
okay. And then the only last thing was the Nashville Teacher Residencies last year for the 25-26 only includes their alumni, but the cost per teacher is $7,808 instead of $5,000 like it is for every other year.
Because what we want to do is make sure by the time the contract ends that we have paid out both portions to the employee, or both portions to NTR, excuse me. So that is a percentage of folks that would be getting both of their payments in 1 year and people who are getting their second payment.
Okay.
And so they calculated that to be about $7,800 as an average.
Okay.
And we want to make sure that we finish the payment out when the contract ends rather than a year after, as we've done in the past.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. Okay, well, I think those answered my questions, and then I guess we'll just wait and see about TSU when it comes.
Okay, any further discussion?
Point of order, Madam Chair. Do you have a question?
Yes, Dr. Ginger?
I'm sorry, I just missed, is Tennessee State all that you pulled off? I missed your first
No,
thing.
it was pulled off. There's an issue with the contract, so it'll be worked on and brought back in
When you pulled off too, though, or was it just that one?
No,
not-
NTR is who,
Yeah,
Ms.
19 was
Tyler.
pulled off. NTR was pulled for discussion. So 19 is not even in the
The
mix.
only one that got pulled
It's
off.
gone,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry, I just wanted to be sure that I had
No,
it.
I understand. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Okay.
All right,
So point of order, Ms. Tyler, would you like to rescind your motion?
Yes, and I would like to rescind, and now I would like to move to approve Nashville Teacher Residency.
all right, so
Second.
that's 1C14. It has been moved and seconded to accept the contract. All in favor, please raise your hand. It passes unanimously. Thank you. We will move on. Let's consent also. All right, we will move on to Director's Report. Dr. Battle. And I'm sorry, while we are getting fixed, I just have to say, Christopher had a phenomenal first day of pre-K. In case anyone cares, he was welcomed at the door by teachers, by administrators, by staff. I mean, I felt very safe. My uncle, my aunt were there to welcome him, and they walked away saying, okay, our baby is in good hands. And that's a big deal. So thank you, educators, wherever you were this morning. Thank you, families, for entrusting us with your babies. I could speak forever about Dr. Battle and her staff. This was a good day for me. And I didn't cry.
You're allowed to cry.
You're not going to tell him how he said goodbye?
He turned his back to me and then waved from behind. He just literally did not even.
I told you.
Well, I think that's a perfect segue, Madam Chair, because I don't want us to lose the excitement of the first day of school. Thank you again, Chair Buggs and board members. I'm thrilled to join you here after a wonderful first day of school around the district. I had the opportunity to visit several schools this morning, and when I tell you just phenomenal work being done, it was evident that the teams all across the district planned and were ready to welcome our students back. It was so good to see smiling faces everywhere I went today. You know, a mask can cover up a smile, but not entirely. I could still see the smiles in the eyes of students, teachers, administrators, parents, and our support staff. Everyone I saw was happy to be back in their school building for a traditional first day. There were plenty of hugs and high fives and even a red carpet or two. We gave the first day of school the celebration it deserves. But our school teams are also getting busy right away with academic instruction, with social emotional learning, and with making sure every student is known as an individual. That started day one of the school year. And that made me feel really good about where we're going to go and what we're going to accomplish in this 2021-22 school year. So now, let's watch a video that features some of our students and staff from around the district and what they are most excited about for the next school year.
We are back together again. On the eve of a bright new school year, we ask students, staff, and families what they are most excited about. And here's what they shared.
Yes, that was all their own answers, so we didn't script that. So our teams weren't starting just from scratch this morning, of course. They prepared for this day for a while, and the result was a smooth operation across the district. So let's look at some of what those teams have been up to, starting with nutrition services, which prepared more than 57,000 healthy, nutritious meals at no cost to students. And they'll continue to do that every single day for the next 9 months. So we're really excited that we're able to, due to a waiver, extend no-cost breakfast and lunch to all of our families across the district. Our human resources team has continued to find excellent principals, teachers, and support staff members for all of our schools. 87 of our schools started the year with 0 classroom vacancies, and we're working hard and quickly to fill any vacancies we do still have. Of the 78 remaining vacancies, we're in the process of hiring for 6, and 46 classrooms are already covered by certificated staff. Those are certificated staff that are already within the school building. So we are well on our way to making sure that our vacancies are covered for our students. We've actually hired approximately 98 more classroom teachers than we had last year, which shows how strong our retention and recruitment strategies have been. And once again, we're so grateful for this board, Mayor Cooper, and Metro Council for making our teachers the best paid in the state. As we move on to our enrollment updates, our enrollment center shifted into high gear over the last week, helping thousands of families with enrollments and transfers to ensure that children would start the year today in the right place. We also are expecting a significant increase in enrollment over the previous school year. I would note that enrollment numbers will shift in the next few weeks as parents register for pre-K and kindergarten and update their enrollment information. So we'll have a better picture of overall enrollment with the 40-day count later this year. Our English learners population continues to grow, and our EL team continues to serve families by meeting them where they are and helping them get the services they need to start off on the right foot. That has included offering COVID-19 vaccinations to newly registered families. So we're greatly appreciative of that partnership as well. Our Division of Academics and Schools had another busy summer. Along with so many other departments, they were instrumental in the rollout of our Promising Scholars summer program. And at the same time, they were getting more than 500,000 textbooks into schools and delivering more than 64,000 hours of professional development to teachers in preparation for this new year. Our Family Information Center is so often the glue that connects our families to our district. They have supported nearly 7,000 families in the final weeks leading up to the start of school by answering questions and providing critical information on a wide range of subjects and needs. And also, I want to give a shout out to our custodial staff, our bus drivers, our bus monitors, paraprofessionals, our support hub team, and all of our other certificated and support staff for your work in making the first day of school a complete success. I'll just close out the back to school portion of my report with some words from a couple of our principals that you can see here on the screens about the year they're looking forward to. We have opened up with so much positivity and optimism from our school leaders and our school teams about what we will accomplish this school year. We are going to have a great year. And I appreciate every member of Team MNPS, from the school-based staff to the support hub to this board, who's working so hard every day to make this possible. I could not be more proud of what I saw today, and I know that's what I'm going to see throughout the entire school year. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Paul Changus, our Executive Director of Research, Assessment, and Evaluation, to talk about last year's MAP test results. We won't have district-level TCAP data until it's released tomorrow, but we've gone ahead and collected MAP data on our students so that we know how we're doing and how they're doing and can hit the ground running for this school year. We needed this information prior to the first day of school. We already have our roadmap in place. So let's be clear. We all know the disruptions the pandemic caused this year. Again, we could not wait until after the start of the school year to respond. We will not get that embargo lifted on district data until tomorrow. So we leveraged the various data sets we already had in-house to make informed and strategic decisions about our plan for the upcoming school year. There are no surprises here for us. We know our needs and our students, and we'll respond accordingly. So at this time, Dr. Changus, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Battle. As Dr. Battle said, tomorrow the state will be releasing the district level data, but last week the state level results were released. And we have been looking at achievement data from multiple MAP assessments over the past year, have continued to see high correlations between our MAP scores and our TCAP scores, so that we don't feel that we're going to be surprised with what comes out tomorrow. And then, so in anticipation of that release tomorrow, I'm going to review some of the highlights of what we saw previously and relate that to what's coming. So we have our signature initiatives, our focused outcomes, and our core tenets, and I have outlined in red the many areas where our achievement data, our MAP scores, our 10 Ready scores, support key initiatives are part of those initiatives. With our core tenets, we know that it's important for us to know our students, to personalize those experiences. We need data in terms of student achievement. In order to identify where there are inequities, where there are gaps, we need that data. Our MAP growth data in literacy and numeracy is what drives our focused outcomes. Our growth is measured by the progress our students make over the course of the year. And then we have a number of signature initiatives which utilize these data. So to review some of the key findings we saw from the May assessment, and just as a reminder, that assessment was given immediately after the TCAP window ended. It was one of multiple data points we had on student achievement last year. We did see a decline in mathematics and in English language arts, and a greater decline in math. And as a reminder, our growth was looking at what happened from February of 2020, just before the start of the pandemic, until May. What percentage of our students maintain their national ranking among students in a normal year. We did see achievement gaps widen for our economically disadvantaged students last year. What we saw with our achievement data, however, was that the students who remained in a virtual learning environment the entire year actually had slightly higher scores than the students who returned in person. Now, I'm not saying that, that the virtual environment had a greater impact on student achievement. When we dig deeper into the data, there's context around the demographics. And what we saw is that our in-person learners represented a higher percentage of economically disadvantaged students, English learners, and students with disabilities. To truly evaluate the progress of those students, we need growth data. And so when we looked at the growth information in terms of what percentage of students maintained their ranking relative to prior to the pandemic, we saw small differences in favor of our in-person learners. But we are talking about small differences that we saw in terms of those percentages, and I'll be sharing some of that data shortly. We also looked at the students who were eligible in a grade level or subject area that would normally be tested, who did not come back to take the TCAP test last spring. And what we saw was, based on their MAP scores, they were a slightly higher achieving group of students than the students who actually tested. In other words, their test scores would have helped us a bit in terms of our overall data. This graph on the left is what the state reported last week in terms of overall proficiency across all subject areas: English language arts, math, science, and social studies, going back to 2017. And of course, we had no data in 2020 that testing was suspended. So this is the statewide proficiency levels, and you can see that there was a decline statewide in terms of proficiency, which was no surprise given the pandemic, and which is what other states are seeing with the data that's being reported. If you recall, with regard to our MAP data last spring, we also saw a decline in terms of the percent of students scoring at the median national percentile, at the percent of students that are in the top quintiles. The blue bars here on the right represent the students above the 80th percentile nationally. The red at the bottom are those students below the 20th percentile. So what we're seeing is more students that are scoring in the lower ranges of the test, fewer in the high area. On the left, what we're seeing is achievement levels, which reflect the same types of patterns. And normally, the students in the green and blue are on MAP are the students who are going to score in the on-track or mastery on TCAP. So again, we're seeing consistency in terms of the overall statewide trends with our data that we saw a significant decline. With regard to the impact on student subgroups, the state reported last week that TCAP showed economically disadvantaged students, English learners, and students of color, our Black and African American students, our Hispanic students, had the biggest drops in terms of their data statewide. And that, again, is looking across all subject areas. When we looked at our data, this is the disaggregated data that we shared for English language arts in May, or actually presented in June from our May data. We saw very similar patterns with mathematics. We saw that our economically disadvantaged and our Black or African American students were the ones that had the most significant decline in terms of growth compared to other students. Not huge differences, but they fell below their classmates. We did not see the same impact on our English learners and Hispanic population that the state reported, but given that a large percentage of those students are economically disadvantaged, it would not be a surprise to see an impact there. So far, we've seen quite a bit of consistency with what the state's reported and what we saw with MAP. Where we start to see a little discrepancy is the reporting that came out last week with regard to in-person, hybrid, and remote learning comparisons. So let me clarify, this graph at the top is what the state reported, breaking up districts basically lumping district-wide results together based on what was called a primary district operating model for the year. In other words, district-wide data was combined, not separated based on what might have happened within the district. As you know, within our district, we had students that did return to buildings over the course of the year. What the state's reporting is that there was a greater impact on those students that were in remote learning in terms of a decline. When we look at our data, which we did disaggregate based on which students remained in remote learning, which students came back to in-person during the course of the year, we see a little different pattern. Unlike the state results, which show higher achievement for our in-person learners, we actually had higher median national percentiles, as you can see in the top graphs, for English language arts and mathematics for our remote learners. And again, these can be explained by the demographics of the students. When we looked at MAP growth for English language arts and mathematics, we saw differences, but small differences in favor of the in-person learners. So there is greater growth for the students that return, but again, we're seeing very small numbers. And I think as we look at our data that will be coming out with TCAP, I'm comfortable in saying that I think we'll see similar patterns. TCAP provides an important data point, but only one of many data points in terms of student achievement that we have on our students. This graph represents one of our rising 8th graders going back to their 3rd grade scores back in 2017. These are in blue, the students' median their national percentile score on the MAP assessment for English language arts from January of 2017 through May of 2021. The green represents their state percentile ranking on TCAP and their achievement level below that. And part of the reason for showing this is just as a reminder, we have a lot of data on our students over time, and that provides a valuable context. This particular child, when we know students have good days and bad days taking tests, this particular child for the first time did not score on track or mastered on the TCAP. We don't know what that child's percentile ranking among Tennessee students was. We don't have that data yet, but they scored at the approaching level. Now, I will add that to be on track or mastered is a pretty high score, typically around the 70th percentile or so, depending on the grade level and subject. But as you can see, other than that one data point, this child has consistently been above, at the 89th percentile or above compared to their classmates. This child was an in-person learner, came back last year. They took the MAP assessment in May in one of our buildings in a secure setting, scored higher than 95% of their classmates nationally in a normal year. I'm, based on over 40 years of analyzing test data, looking at this pattern, I feel pretty comfortable in saying that this child is college and career ready, regardless of what one data point says. And we need that context when we look at our students' data, when we make decisions, educational decisions. We need to keep in mind that we have a variety of assessment data. We have classroom assessments. We have our own observations and grades on students. And we will be adding another data point here in the next couple of weeks with additional universal screening to inform our multi-tiered systems of support, our MAP assessments, our FastBridge assessments, and other data that we have. again, this is not to discount any TCAP score, just as a reminder that we have a lot of information already. In summary, I think we can all agree that the pandemic had a significant impact on student achievement, which was anticipated. Whether we're looking at state data or our own district data, we saw it across subject areas. We can all agree that the gaps did widen somewhat for our economically disadvantaged students. Where we have some questions is about the impact on our remote learners versus our in-person learners. And we know that the districts that were identified in their reporting on remote learners are districts that have higher percentages of economically disadvantaged and English learners, students who were impacted regardless of the setting, the learning setting last year. What I'm saying is let's wait till we see growth data in multiple data points. I'll point out that when we compare 2019 to 2021 data, there's overlap in who those students are, but there's a lot of students who were tested 2 years ago who are no longer in tested grades and subjects, and a lot of students that tested this year who were not in our previous data. When I looked at our TCAP grade 3 through 8 data and compared it to 2 years ago, I found that over a third of our students, 38% of students, didn't have a prior score. These are not the same students. And what we've been looking at with our MAP data is tracking the same students over time. As we saw in our district, remote learners had higher achievement but slightly less academic growth. Again, demographics explain a lot of that. And as I mentioned, we have a lot of different data points from 2 years ago. So where do we go from here? There are a number of steps in terms of, again, making sure every student is known and getting that data out to our educators and to our families. Schools already have access to longitudinal MAP data and the current TCAP scores. They've all been loaded in our data warehouse. Students who have changed buildings, their data follows them where they're enrolled. So if you're a current ninth grader in a high school, your 8th grade TCAP scores are already there, so are your MAP scores. The MAP and FastBridge data coming in the next few weeks, again, will help us inform the multi-tiered systems of support process as we identify gaps and work to close those. MAP scores from May are already in our personalized student dashboard and available to families. TCAP scores are being loaded and will be there soon. And we're working with our communications department and others to provide additional information for families. We already have some guidance information that's in the student dashboard to help families interpret test data. We'll be adding resources to help with regard to access and interpretation of those results, also some videos to help with access. And over the coming weeks, we will start doing some surveying of families as well as focus groups to get their input and their feedback from what we've already provided and to help us with further development of that dashboard. And I will turn it back over to Dr. Battle. I know there's going to be additional information coming out about the instructional steps to come, but that closes it from the assessment side.
Thank you, Paul. Board members, as you can see, we have a lot of work to do, but we have the right people and processes in place to accelerate these outcomes for our students. What we know is that we must move back to basics to get it right so that we have forward progress and success. We're moving into a period of recovery and then quickly into acceleration. And we have to get the fundamental inflection points right. And so as we've been looking at this, keeping in mind that, again, we've been moving strategically on the data that we saw last year. There's no surprises here. I haven't seen any surprises yet as we've been looking at our MAP data and anticipating what will be released tomorrow. So we have a plan in place. We'll use the universal screener Screeners Fast Bridge will use MAP to make any needed adjustments at the beginning of the year. As a reminder also, we did run the largest Promising Scholars summer experience this summer that happened after we administered both MAP and TN Ready. We know that this is only one data point. We will take that information, we will use it to the best of our ability to make sure that we're making informed decisions as we're moving forward. So with that, Madam Chair, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much for this information. We'll open it up for questions before we move on to announcements.
Say that again?
Well, I'm opening it up for questions, and then we'll move on, or for the discussion, and then we'll move on to announcements. Ms. Tyler?
Not a question, but I just wanted to thank Dr. Shangus for including all the quintiles so that we could really see where the differences are instead of just those top two. So I really appreciate that, and I would encourage that to continue. Thank you.
All right, Mrs. Masters?
Can I ask any question?
Yeah, about the report.
Okay. I just wanted to ask Dr. Battle about, it's not about data, although I did appreciate that presentation. How we're doing, I'm just wondering how we're doing on buses and bus drivers and getting that fully staffed and having everything that we need there.
Well, just like what's been experienced all across the country, we still are in a space where there are bus driver shortages. We have been able to maintain a cohort, a roster of safe bus drivers who are leveraging various strategies to ensure that we're getting our students safely back and forth to school. So we are still aggressively recruiting bus drivers into the district. What we look at when we're recruiting and in our ideal space is that we would have one bus driver per route, if you will. We are many drivers short of that, but we're in a manageable space that through the great efforts and teamwork of our team that we can run A/B routes and using other strategies to make sure that we get our students to and from school safely. But we're about, I think we could hire up to about 60 more bus drivers.
Wow.
That would be our ideal space, is to hire about 60 more bus drivers.
What can the board do to help? I mean, other than spread the word that we're hiring bus drivers, what can we do?
Well, the team is leveraging many strategies, recruitment strategies for our bus drivers. We've also worked with other external driving companies to recruit bus drivers to MNPS. And it really is about getting the word out. It's about, the great work and the impact that you have in supporting our students and families by driving here in MNPS. As I started out mentioning, it's a national challenge right now, just like in every front with education, to make sure we have good quality drivers, again, who keep safety at the top of our priority list to come and work here. So spreading the word, telling the positive stories, sharing the impact, again, that bus drivers and our monitors have on our students. I mean, they are the first leaders, adults that our students engage with during a school day. So they have a great role to play within the district.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, any other questions for Dr. Battle before we move on to the MMCV discussion? Ms. Bush?
Yes, I just wanted to know, when I was looking at the data, I'm really concerned about the economically disadvantaged students, which mostly are Black and brown children. And I just want to know how intentional we're being as far as helping mitigate their learning loss. What is the plan for that? I know we're trying to help resuscitate in the district as far as the amount of learning loss that we experienced during COVID, but I'm really, really, really concerned about those younger students that have had a missed opportunity, those kindergartners going to first grade that did not have a kindergarten year. What is the plan on help mitigating these students and with this learning loss? Because again, as I mentioned, most of these disadvantaged students are Black and brown students. So what would be the plan for that?
So a few things that we are doing. First, I think we all could agree that our priority is our students, keeping them safe and educating them at a high level. Last year, while we did operate with both virtual and in person, and kind of a hybrid of that throughout the majority of the year. All of our students experienced a year of learning. It might not have been in our school buildings, but our primary responsibility, of course, was keeping them safe, but also educating them at a high level. Part of the plan that we've communicated in the past, which is specific to our economically disadvantaged students, are high-level strategies. This is why we launched high-dosage tutoring in our district. We didn't wait for the data to come out tomorrow, so the embargo is still there. So we didn't wait for that. We launched high-dosage tutoring across our district. Based upon the data we're seeing, we will continue to really target our first and second graders in literacy. We'll be targeting our 8th and 9th graders in numeracy. That's not limited just in that space, but we know we have work to do for both of those subgroups. It is also why we launched our Navigator system, because we know that particularly with our economically disadvantaged students, there might be some challenges and barriers to navigating this pandemic space and making sure that they have the right supports in place to meet their individual needs. It is why we funded as a district interventions for all schools. So regardless of the student and which subgroups they might fall into, including our economically disadvantaged students, it's important that as we're following our MTSS process, that we have a good core instruction, which is why we also invested heavily in those core instructional materials and PD for our families, but the interventions, so that when students are not performing up to standard, we can intervene early and consistently across our district. This is also why when we have built out our student-based budgeting model and leveraging our ESSER funds, that we use the equity matrix when it comes to the funds and how we spiral those funds down to schools. Every school received a base funding amount, and that amount increased based upon the economically disadvantaged students being served in the school. And we did that with intention because we saw what was happening with our data and wanted to prioritize all of our subgroups of students, but in this case, we're talking about our economically disadvantaged. But also because we know our school teams, our leaders and teachers know our students best. And so they were able to leverage those funds to meet the unique needs of our students based upon where they are and how they've been impacted by this pandemic. As a reminder, we've already spiraled down leveraging ESSER $2, $24 million to our schools based upon our equity matrix that definitely is grounded in our economically disadvantaged students. So those are some of the highest leverage strategies that we've implemented across the district, and we'll continue to adjust as we move forward.
And how do we, when we identify those students, so it sounds like the teachers will be able to identify and assess those students, and how soon with this high level of tutoring that will happen, how soon would that happen as far as that type of connection with those students?
So our first pilot of high-dosage tutoring happened in the spring. So we tutored students with our gold standard high-dosage tutoring model back in the spring for about 500 students. And this year our goal is to tutor up to 7,000 students with our tutoring process. We have been able to see some strong data behind what the high-dosage tutoring did to support our learners all across the district. And we are in the process now of identifying students, getting volunteers trained all across the city, not even just in our school district, to begin that implementation immediately. Again, this is why we needed various data points. With new data, it is very hard to leverage these high impact research-based strategies to meet the needs of our students.
Thank you, Ms. Bush. Mrs. Pupa-Walker.
So I just want to say that, MNPS has led the state really in having really strong data systems for many years. And that is to our advantage now, as we know that we have staff who are trained in teams and departments and grade level teams all using data and dashboards to talk about how students are doing. And now we have the personalized dashboard for families. I just think all of that is going to be so essential here. I appreciate us talking candidly about where we are and not sugarcoating where we are. I think but I also know that this is the case across the state, across the country. We're not alone in seeing drops in achievement for students, and so excited to see us dig in on, what we know are research-based strategies like tutoring and things like navigators and all these different tools. And also just want to remind us that we are also hiring all these folks in these advocacy centers, all of these additional people in our buildings that are going to provide this wraparound support that we just didn't have access to before that we need so desperately. So looking forward to the conversation about the data tomorrow, but also recognizing that we're already on it. So thank you.
And if I can just make one comment echoing what Ms. Pooper-Walker just shared, great kudos to Dr. Changas and his team. We can speak about this today because of how well trained and versed our team is. We were able to predict this. There are no surprises here for us, even as we're waiting on the data to be released tomorrow. I also want to acknowledge that because of the investments we have with technology in our district, today for the first time, after the first day of school, we were able to bring all of our principals together. And we did so virtually. One, to congratulate them on a job well done for today. And they've been telling me weeks leading up to this, that they've got this, they're ready. They feel so prepared. But we also, on the first day of school, were able to have another conversation about where we are and reinforcing the plan we have moving forward. I could not have been more proud today walking through school buildings, and we're already talking about every student known academically, socially, emotionally, and seeing that play out across our school buildings. So again, kudos to Dr. Changas and his team. We all know that everybody across the state and country relies on our team and their depth of knowledge, but also just the ability, because of the investments in technology and our platforms, to be able to bring everyone together and not delaying this conversation. We talk with our principals today, and they are still pumped, and they are still ready to go, and they know the plan, the path forward for us as a district.
Thank you, Dr. Battle. Mr. Little?
Yeah, just want to give kudos. I mean, as Dr. Changas, thank you for having the stomach just to give us the hard details with the academic data. And really kudos for this team that's worked really hard to change the culture. The scariest thing right now is that we're just now turning this around. And I think the scariest point for me, what happens if we don't get it right next year? What happens when we don't get it right the following year? And as I look back, it was 69% below average. So I just sit here, we debated the mask mandate for 45 minutes, CRT for 45 minutes. And as a board member, I'm trying to define my role on how do we come back from the injustices? How do we sit here right now and say, it looks really bad and we have a really good plan, but I feel like I'm on the outside looking in on how do we really help? And this is not a finger pointing at anybody. This is just me expressing myself to say where our results are now. We have lost a generation of children, and I think we have the right team on the ship, but it's hurtful to even think back to generations, parents who now have kids in school. As we look at Nashville and we're losing our affordable housing, this is just, I don't know, this is hard for me, and maybe I need a little therapy. But on one data point, I think Dr. Changas said, let me go back. It was essentially a person, a EL student still scored higher than a African-American student on the MAP test, which if a kid has been in school for years and years, and again, this is not a finger pointing to currently, but just what have we been doing in the past years where we're having kids who are not getting educated for elementary, middle school, and high school. So I don't even have a question. I'm just looking at these results is just so hard to stomach, and I have the faith that we can turn it around, but I don't know what I can do to help turn it around, but I want to be helpful somewhere, because we can't keep producing this and think that we're going to have real equity in the city. We can't keep producing this and thinking our children are going to have access to the new jobs that are coming when you think about Amazon and Oracle. And so I'm going to stop at this point, but I'm hurt by these scores, and I just really want to do whatever I can to help change course.
Well, one thing I do want to clarify, what you saw was a comparison of what the state released for the state.
Right.
Every district for last year's TCAP scores and a summary, a recap of what our MAP scores were from last spring. So,
but historically, our data has been worse than the state when we look at our, so when I see the state and I see the state numbers, I look at MNPS and say, maybe it'll be on the same path, but historically, it's been worse. And again, that's what gives me pain to think, all right, first thing in the morning, what do I have to look at, and then how do we help?
Thank you, Mr. Little. Dr. Gentry, before you go, when I brought my son to school this morning, I was so, of course, excited, but there was a lot of preparation before then, because the data that I've seen, the data that I know is that 30% of MNPS's first graders come into first grade, come into MNPS already 1 full grade level behind. That's not spoken by the state. It's not discussed in the community. No, parent meetings. We're not talking about how communities are under-resourced and then how those students then show up at schools. And so I appreciate the rallying call to let everyone know that you can't keep laying these issues at MNPS's feet and then expecting us to run with it in a way that is truly transformative for generations. Not until the community sees every child as their child that needs to be supported. Until we start seeing more equity in neighborhoods, we will not see equity in schools. Until we see inclusivity in our community, we won't see inclusivity as consistently as we should in schools. And I mean, I could stand up on a soapbox for hours and preach about what it means to be a community member, what it means to be an educator, and then now what it means to be a parent. But as a board member, it's always going to be my job to advocate for MNPS and to remind everyone that not only should we all be collaborating, that it is not any one person's issue, it's not any one person's fault, it's not any one person's thing, but I can't help but advocate, I can't help but dig into the data, and then I can't help but to try to offer a narrative and context that says, stop blaming educators and stop blaming parents. Stop pitting us against each other, and let's collaborate. The community as a whole in Nashville is not what it needs to be. You know it because you grew up in Nashville just like I did. When I walk into Buena Vista, it's very different than I walk into some of the more affluent schools in my district. I could talk about how race and affluence and choice and all those things have impacted these different schools, but we cannot keep acting like that doesn't impact our children. I'm gonna just stop there because I can just ramble. Dr. Gentry?
And
Well, hold on, if you don't mind, I'm gonna let you, but Dr. Gentry?
I'd like to hear what Mr. Little has to say.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Little.
If 30% are already coming in and so we can never catch them up, the hard question has to be, why run a school system for a kid that we can never get to grade level? Why run a school system for a kid who will never realize their greatest dreams because they didn't receive an education? Because back in the first grade, they were already 2 grades behind. I think the toughness of what we have to figure out is, how do we change it? Do we have the ability to change it in our roles and our positions and our support? And if we do, I think let's collaborate. If we don't, we need to figure out, because this is, I'm gonna stop I'm passing Dr. Gentry.
Dr. Gentry?
Thank you. So I'm always troubled when I hear the challenges and our data contextualized and sort of the exclamation point on it is a lot of buzzwords and a little bit of hyperbole, some innuendo. And Mr. Little, what I would agree with you is that it's a challenge, and we are consistently challenged. The problem that happens, and I've been saying this now going on 13 years, is because we don't want to be here 30 hours, we're very topical in what we discuss. And so we don't always have a holistic conversation about the data. What we looked at today was a data point. And as I say also, data is a symptom. It is not the problem. The problem is not the numbers that we see. The problem is what's contributing to the numbers that we see. And so can we take a student who comes to us 2 grade levels behind and get them where they are? Of course we can, with all other things being equal, but they're not. And so as I also said, during this pandemic, we had 83,000 classrooms. We couldn't standardize them. We couldn't ensure that that engagement was consistent. We couldn't ensure that social and emotional supports were where they needed to be. We couldn't ensure that when translation was needed, it was readily available. We couldn't ensure those things because it was 83,000 classrooms. And so the question becomes, are we clear on what our resources are and the levers we can pull as a school system, a teacher or a building level leader can pull in a classroom? And then are we clear on all those other aspects that are necessary, which is why we push a budget that talks about social and emotional support, which is why we push a budget that wants to put community and Chiefs in every school, which is why we push a budget that talks about nurses, which is why we push a budget that talks about psychologists. And in an ideal world, we shouldn't be talking about any of those things. Mm-hmm. We should be talking about books, teachers, and curriculum. But we're not in an ideal world. And so we've got to stop being the harbingers of despair at this board table and be very realistic about what it's going to take to get that single student. If you multiply that student by however many of those kinds of students we have that show up to us, having touched a book, never been read to, never been to a library, doesn't have a stable home environment, may live in a homeless shelter. Our variables are innumerable when you then take and do the extrapolation into how many combinations of ACEs a student can show up with. And so I'm not saying all this to say that we get a pass or to say that it cannot happen. I'm saying that we've got to challenge ourselves to have a more holistic conversation when we talk about the numbers that we see. And we can't leave our district or our director or her staff saying, you just got to make these numbers look different. So what is your role as a board member? I would offer up is that to continue to have the conversation that says because these challenges do show up at our doorstep, not just the fact that a child can't read, because if all I had to do was teach you how to read, I think we'd get that covered. If I had a child that showed up socially and emotionally healthy and strong, if I had a child that showed up prepared to learn in the primary language in which we teach, if I had a child that always showed up physically well, meaning they're not hungry, they're not on any mood-altering medications, they have no other challenges to learning, if I had that child that showed up every day, that was comfortable and safe and confident sitting in the classroom because they know they were going to return to a comfortable and healthy and supportive environment when they left me, I could always teach that child to read. But that's not the children that we have. And so we've got to continue as board members to have the conversation that says the resources I need to get that student, and just a simple example of a student who shows up with everything else being equal, but they're 2 grade levels behind in reading, just that child and who that child typically represents in our society here in Nashville, our job is to advocate for all the resources necessary to get that child to where he or she needs to be, on or above grade level. And to stop having the conversation in a silo, even though time requires us to do it, stop articulating the problem as a data problem. Quit articulating the problem as the percentages of students who can't read, because that's just the symptoms. The percentage of children who are below grade level is a symptom of a city that you've said yourself is not a singular city. We have multiple versions of Nashville that show up in our classrooms across the district every day. And so what it takes is the energy and the stamina and the fidelity and the integrity to have a conversation that's bigger than those numbers, a conversation that's bigger than Paul Changas being challenged and asked a question about what's the plan, a conversation that's bigger than looking at Dr. Battle and not being able to wait to ding her on her evaluation. It's the conversation that says, right, collaboration, but it's more than collaboration amongst these resources. How do we bring the right people in the city who are causing the disparities that we have in access, causing the disparities we have in incomes, causing the disparities that we have in just the ability to take advantage of all the things that make this city the it city that everyone says it is. There are families in here who've never been downtown. Mm-hmm. So that's what I would say is our charge, is not just to look these individuals in this room in the eye and ask them what they're gonna do, but challenge everyone else in this city to come to the table and bring their resources to bear to move the needle, not just the academic one, but the social one, the emotional one, the access one, the financial one, to move those needles for all of these students and these families so that they are best positioned to take advantage of what we have to offer here in MNPS.
Thank you. Mrs. Player-Peters?
And I want to go back to what's our role as a board member, and I think it goes back to why did you run? I mean, I ran, because I'm a unicorn. I don't have any kids. Probably not going to have any kids. I don't come from academia. I'm not a teacher, not a certified teacher, never taught one day of life in school. And I think for me, one of the reasons I did it was to advocate for our schools from my over decade of year of observing on the other side of that wall of what metro schools can do and capable of doing and who's advocating for that. And I stand because when I was literally going door to door for candidates, people would say, well, I don't care about schools because I don't have a kid in school. And I'm like, I'm here 90-degree weather, going door to door sweating for children I don't have, children that are not blood to me, because I care about my community. And the talents I bring coming from an advocacy world, coming from governing world of how to articulate what Metro Schools is doing, has been doing, and can be doing, particularly to other elected officials, both on the local level and the state level, of saying, this is your misconceptions about MNPS. These are the accurate conceptions of MNPS. But it takes a collective world, and I bring the talents of understanding how to budget, how to govern, how to look at that, and how to advocate for that in that. But to say our role as a board member, what do we do, is the fundamental reason why we are here. We have to do the hard lessons of what does it mean as a government, as a society, to educate our children. And we have to answer those hard questions. We have to do those hard things of figuring out the path. That's why people elect us to be leaders, to come up with a solution that is not easy, because if it was easy, it had already been done. And someone would have made that pathway. But it's ourselves that we have to do to collectively as a board with our individual talents coming together as a collective whole to guide Dr. Battle and her staff to come up with those answers. Whether it's advocating for resources, that's one of the reasons why we're suing the BEP funding, because it's not adequate, because we as a state don't value education in the way of funding as the other 45 states that give school boards taxing authority because they want to invest in the financial resources of our children to give them the best education possible. So part of it is we have to find our individual role of what that means to be a school board member, and then what's our collective roles individually that comes to a whole to lead the way. That's why we are elected officials. That's why we step up and do this lovely job that's almost full-time and on part-time salary while we're
$13,000 per year.
In a way, because it's called public service because it's service. It's hard. It's not easy. We've been through it even the last week of making that difficult decision. Well, it wasn't difficult for me. I think it wasn't difficult for most of us. But making it difficult in decisions to move it forward. And it's not easy. And that's the part of governing, that we are the leaders that have to come with the direction to do it. And if we don't have the answers to that, then we have to examine why we're leaders. That's why we're reading the book that we are about being an essential school board. It gives a pathway of how other school boards increase their testing scores, increase their literacy rate, it is a guideway to give us our own unique MNPS way of doing it. That's why we hired Dr. Battle, because we believed in her vision to solve these issues. Now, is it going to happen overnight? Absolutely. But it's one of those things that we have to take those hard things and also believe in resiliency, that there has to be a pathway to growth, and we have to hold everyone accountable to do that. So I think it's a combination of finding your own path to do it, but then also leading in that way and finding those answers. And it's not easy. It's not hard. I mean, it's one of those things that we have to have those difficult conversations and those transparent conversations to do it. So I think that's part of the discussion, like at retreats we need to continue to have, the discussions we need to have, that what do we bring individually and then what do we bring as a whole to govern through these hard issues to get to the answers that we want to, because governing is hard. I wish it was easy. It would make our society and our life much more easier, but that's part of being a democracy, is that we have to come together and find out how do we do these tough things, given everyone's rights and abilities and talent and being responsible for the collective whole.
Mrs. Tyler?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of echo a little bit of what Dr. Gentry and Ms. Player-Peters were saying. We do know how to help children, even ones who have ACEs. And we know that smaller class sizes works. We know that one-on-one instruction works. We know that strong social and emotional learning works. We know what works. The problem is when you don't have the ability to implement the things that work. So how do we support the system to allow for smaller class sizes? How do we make policy that increases SEL learning? How do we make our budget reflect that? And all of those are the things that we have some sort of control over and that we should be looking at and encouraging one another to think about. And I just have to say, as a former teacher, one of the things that is so important for people to understand is that for the last decade or so, teachers have been asked to put more and more hats on. It used to be that you literally just taught what you needed to teach. And over time, they have taken on the role of social worker, guidance counselor, therapist. They have taken on the role of surrogate parents sometimes. Sometimes they've taken on the role of social worker. And all of these things are taxing our teachers in a way that leaves them emotionally deficient, and they leave. And our great teachers are not staying. And as we know, one of the ways that we can help our kids learn is to have great teachers. And in fact, that is the top way we teach our kids, to have good quality teachers. So we have to start thinking about how do we approach the problem. And one of the things that I've always said is, you know, when you're looking at the different taxonomies, Maslow's has to come before Bloom's. Mm-hmm. Has to. Mm-hmm. You cannot teach a child who has current trauma in their head because of the way their brain reacts to it. And if you can't reach that child to teach, then all you're going to be doing is crowd control. All you're going to be doing is putting out one fire after the other. So I really want to encourage us to look for not the nitty-gritty detail of what should the teacher say in the classroom or what should the principal enforce for their teachers. That's not our job. Our job is to figure out how do we give everybody the tools using our policies and our budget to support what we know and what research shows works. And so that's high-quality teachers. That means not necessarily recruiting brand new teachers, but working to keep our great teachers here. Smaller class sizes, SELs, making sure that we have nurses in every school, making sure that we have guidance counselors in every school. Those are the things that we have some sort of control over. And I think as long as we continue to have these conversations and we continue to put those things as the highest priority, then we are going to start to see the needle move on the symptoms of the problem, as Dr. Gentry said it. So that's just kind of what I had to say about that. And I also had a question about if groups are, community groups are wanting to join and be tutors, who would they need to contact to get some sort of training so that they could be part of their community to help support?
Thank you for that call to the community to help us out here with our high dosage tutoring. I'm going to invite Dr. Carrie Randolph up to the podium to share the great news about how one could get involved.
Thank you for the question. We opened a call for volunteers this week, actually. I can send around the web address, but the best way for community volunteers is to go to Pencil. They are our lead partner on recruiting community volunteers. And we're looking for a lot of them, but we have great opportunity, training, and support for tutors. So yes, would love for you to help spread the word.
Thank you, Dr. Randolph.
Great. All right, Mr. Little?
Yeah, and just to be clear, and this responding to Ms. Player-Peters, I think the question is, why did we run? I think for us to sit up here for the money, we ran because we have a passion for the community, right? That passion says you want all kids to succeed. And then you look at the roles of a board member and you ask yourself, is this me? And so when you think about all kids and you think about year in, year out, again, this is not pointing the finger, but I'm saying we have to do better than has been done before. And we do have to come together as a team in order to do it. And I don't think this is a teacher thing. Like it's no fault to teachers because teachers are not in leadership. Teachers follow like state policies that come down. They get frustrated because people who make the policies don't understand what happens in the classroom. But I can't help but saying what has happened decade after decade after decade. And again, if that's what we're gonna do, like I'm all in. But I can ask as a board member, as a parent who cares, like let's do it. Like I'm actually like stepping up to the plate because I think we have to take a hard approach because it looks devastating, right? It looks devastating to say the kids that we get. Historically, they have never been able to read on grade level by the first grade. By the time they graduate, you have people who are coming out who still can't read. They're not going to college at a high level. They're not finding gainful employment. So all these things really exist in our city. My question, my passion right now is, as Dr. Gentry said, like, let's really do something different for kids. I just had to express myself that the data looks hurtful because I know the data translates into reality. And if you go into any community, right, going into DuPont, Hadley, going into McGavick this week, like you see what the data says and what our kids are struggling with. And so all I'm saying, we can't forget that year in, year out, I've been paying attention since I was in elementary, and we had different superintendents, we had different teams, we have sat in this boardroom, we have passed budgets, and academic achievement hasn't increased. That means college acceptance, college graduation, like all of that stuff has been dismal for decades. And so I'm fine with being in this room with this team because we really got to do something different than we have really ever done before. And listening to people in the community, a lot of people have lost faith because they went to school and didn't get the proper education, and now they have kids. And so if you never learned how to invest in stock, it's hard to teach your kids how to invest in stock. If you had issues with reading when your kid comes home and they need help reading, it's so hard for you to do it. I'm just saying the buck stops with us.
All right. Any other questions or thoughts? All right, we'll move on to MMCV, but I will say a couple of months ago, Soledad O'Brien came to visit Nashville, and the title of her documentary was Disrupt and Dismantle. And she was focused on 37208. And I remember, to be honest, when she came into the room to interview me, I could tell she was ready to attack. She was ready to suggest that MNPS was the issue, that we were the linchpin, we were the reason for the school-to-prison pipeline. But as soon as I started talking to her and explaining to her that both Dr. Battle and I were from North Nashville, that I paid for my house, with teacher money to, in 37208, and that I was sending my son to school in 37208, she flat out asked me, so why keep fighting? Why do this? And I said, because I have a son who will go to this school. I mean, it was to be honest, such an asinine, almost hurtful question. So when people say, why do this? Why do we do this work? Because we are passionate about children. It is going to be hard. It is going to be something that systems of oppression we have to dismantle and disrupt. But to suggest that, that anything other than collaboration will be the fixture, we can't allow that to happen. So many words to say, but we'll move on to MMCV. With that, we have some questions. I guess we will begin with Ms. Bush. You asked for a few questions to be answered. Dr. Battle, how would you like to move forward?
We can receive the questions and respond accordingly.
Okay, so I will start with the first question that was submitted. When was the MMCV Inc. for-profit company formed?
All right, I would like to invite Mr. Hank Clay up to the podium to respond to that question, Madam Chair.
Meharry Medical College was formed in 1876. Meharry Medical College Ventures, which is a wholly owned by Meharry Medical College, was formed in December 2020 to model after the structure that Vanderbilt University uses.
Thank you. What is their past business record and relationships with other school districts?
The partnership was created in response to the pandemic, and since that was unprecedented, no one could have had a track record with other districts.
All right. When did the contract start and stop?
The contract start date was February 15th, 2021, and the contract has ended. It ended on June 30th, 2021.
It's asking for an itemization of all services rendered.
We have detailed invoices, and those have been widely circulated and provided to board members as well.
Okay, and then an itemization of all hourly rate paid for all staff members and their positions.
And the contract was structured based on deliverables and services provided to the district. It wasn't structured with an hourly billing rate, except for some additional items. And if those additional items were asked for and provided, then those would have been billed at hourly rate, but very limited.
Okay, and an itemization of all training hours.
I would have to refer you to Meharry on that, how they train their employees.
Okay, and monthly billing costs.
The monthly billing range from, except for the startup deliverables, between $1.3 million and $1.9 million.
Okay, and then total amount paid for the contract.
The total amount paid so far for the contract has been $12,305,273.
All right, thank you for that, Dr. Battle and staff. With that, I guess, well, I think we have to have a motion to have discussion. Melissa, I just want to make sure that I'm moving appropriately.
It's listed on the agenda for discussion, so you all can discuss amongst yourselves.
Okay. I saw Ms. Masters and Ms. Tyler.
Oh, okay, so 12 million and change so far, but does that mean there are still some outstanding invoices, or is that's end of the contract?
Mr. Clay, you can approach the podium. Thank you.
We have not paid for the June invoice.
And how much, do we know yet how much that is?
That could be up to $1.9 million. We had it as an estimate, and we're still working to verify the work performed and have not paid it out yet. We have a very robust due diligence process.
Can I ask another one, or are we going?
Go right ahead.
Also, so I recall in the discussions that there was going to be a rollout of a website that was part of what Meharry was to deliver. And I never saw that rolled out. I know that it was in process. So I'm just kind of curious what happened with that portion of it, where it was going to offer a whole lot of transparency around COVID cases and everything going on in schools.
Ms. Clay, go ahead and respond.
That website was backsafely.org, so that was rolled out. That's where parents could sign up. That's where they could provide some information about COVID. In addition to that, the district provided kind of centralized data tracking through the COVID COVID thermometer referenced earlier.
So the backsafely.org site was part of what was funded through this contract?
Yes, ma'am.
Like all of the, okay. I'm also wondering about, so initially there was an assumption, whether correct or not, that part of the Meharry thing was going to be to offer the vaccines, which of course then didn't end up being included as a part of that because that is done through our health partner. So A, was that assumption correct? And if so, is the pay rate, was it adjusted appropriately to account for Meharry not being a part of the vaccine effort?
Mr. Clay, feel free to respond.
Thank you. So the vaccine advice was considered. So for example, as we know, Dr. Hildreth sat on the National Advisory, he sat on the FDA committee to review the vaccine. That provided robust, almost very valuable information for us. It was not built into the contract for Meharry Medical College or anybody else to provide the actual vaccines to students. Okay. That would have been inappropriate because it is covered through insurance or through the government itself. So at the point when vaccines became available to our teachers and now to some of our students, we have partnered with Vanderbilt University to do that, but that again is not billed to us. That is through the insurance and through the federal government.
Okay, thank you. And then I also just want to clarify, this was ESSER money, correct, that we are using?
That's correct. I want to distinguish, it was the federal ESSER money given directly to the school district. It was not part of the mayor's allocation of ESSER funding.
Okay, so that's a new one for me, because I was under the impression that it was the mayor who provided the ESSER funding specifically for us to contract with Meharry for these services.
So, go ahead and respond.
As you probably remember through some of the PowerPoints, one as recently as a couple of weeks ago at the board retreat, in every single one of those PowerPoints, it was listed as part of ESSER 2. So I had to go through the state approval. What you may be remembering is before ESSER 2 was allocated, we were in conversation to see if the city could allocate dollars. That never panned out, and then the school district received the federal funding through ESSER 2, and that's how it was paid for.
And that is something we've been very transparent about, what we leverage ESSER 2 about. I think that could be referenced in all prior presentations around those funds and the intent for those funds coming directly to school districts.
Okay, so back in December when we were talking with the mayor and Meharry about sort of wanting to do this, that was when we were still under the impression we might be getting money from the city for it.
That was when we were trying to explore every avenue possible to open our schools safely. Congress had not passed ESSER funding yet, and so again, we were trying to do our due diligence to ensure that we could safely reopen schools as soon as possible and to keep them open. So yes, you're correct that we were trying to work with the mayor to see if there was some sort of city funding. That became unnecessary when school districts across the country received the federal resources.
Do we have any plans to do an RFP to try to get a contract to do the randomized testing again? Or, I mean, is that something that we might consider?
Mr. Clay, you can go ahead and respond.
It's always on the table, and just to reiterate what you just said, we had an emergency contract due to the emergency situation of COVID. We are no longer in that situation, and so if we were to do something, we would do a request for proposals and have a competitive process. And we do not have current plans to do an RFP, but we'd go through that process if we did. We are testing on an as-needed basis with our school nurses, but we're not doing the randomized kind of blanket approach that we had done in the spring.
Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Tyler?
I just had a question. So when we had talked about this, when Meharry sent a representative, we were asking about, how many employees are they going to have, how many people are going to be part of this program, and why they need to ask for that much. And I think they had said that the plan was to hire 400 people, if I remember that correctly, but they didn't actually employ that. So do we have any recourse for that monthly fee that was non-negotiable when they didn't fulfill the number of people that they had promised that they would fill? Does that make sense? Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Clay.
Ms. Tyler, as provided in a memo to you before, the monthly fees have adjusted based on the services they were provided. So that's when I referenced back in February, it was $1.3 million. In March, it was 1.8. In April, it was 1.9. in May 1.9. That's to reflect the ramp up of hiring to be able to provide those services. So it was a service-based contract. One way to think about how to, if I remember that conversation correctly, how to visualize the scale of the district was they were talking about the number of people. I would have to defer to them on exactly how many people they hired to do what we asked them to do. But we evaluated the contract based on whether they provided the services, which they did, and then after we evaluated the monthly invoice to do our due diligence, we either paid or did not pay. So.
And is it typical to, when you create a contract with a group for something, and I know this is really unprecedented, there really hasn't been something like this before, but how frequently do we guarantee a monthly amount no matter what? Is that typical of our contracts?
So I would characterize it differently. I don't think we guaranteed a certain amount. What we did was ask for a service. If they provided that service, then they got paid for that service. Okay. So we definitely evaluated whether we had the coverage in our schools. We evaluated whether they provided the goods that they said that they would provide. If they did, then we paid for what we agreed to. We were building a comprehensive net of services to accomplish these specific goals. That is how the contract was valued.
Okay. And then could you just kind of, I know this had to come together so quickly and that we were all anxious, and I think it is important to continue to remind everybody that when these negotiations happened, there wasn't a vaccine. We were still trying to figure out how to get kids back in school. That was our highest priority, to get them in person safely so that we could take care of them and teach them. So I just was wondering if you could kind of just give us a little bit of insight on how those negotiations, like who came to the table for that, and how quickly did we have to decide this? When were you starting to discuss creating a contract up to when we actually voted on it?
Yeah, great question. So very quickly, and did not know exactly what we needed. We knew that we needed to go to experts. So part of the context of this is that Meharry Medical College stepped up for the city to very successfully provide testing centers across the city. We then went to those well-respected professionals to say, what would it take to be able to get back into school in an in-person learning environment as quickly as possible? What would allow us to basically operate in the environment that we were?
And just to echo this is at a point in time where we had phased in our elementary and exceptional education students, and we were making a determination that we need to go back virtual as everything was ramping up in November and December. So we just cannot lose that context because we were in a space of doing whatever was necessary. I mean, we've even had that talked about when we're talking about masks to get our kids back in an in-person learning environment. That just cannot be forgotten in this conversation. Go ahead, Mr. Clay.
So to very specifically answer your question, we went to them in November and December to say, what would this look like? Most of that happened in December. It was uncertain about what the scale of setting up we talk about the advocacy centers, how much that cost, the scale of setting something up in very short order, all of the comprehensive need. So we started talking about that in theoretical terms. We did not know if there would be funding. Then, as we talked about earlier, the federal government came through with the funding to show that resources would be available. We then worked through the broad ideas of the contract, brought that to you all for you to approve. We got more and more specific as we've learned more. It was then continued the negotiations and went into effect on the February 15th. And then they had to stand up an operation from nothing to then cover as many schools as possible as then the COVID cases, as we were able to go back to school in person because of this as well. And they were able to do that for March, April, and May, and then in June as well.
Thank you. I do think it is important to remember that context. I think that gets lost sometimes in this discussion.
And if I may.
Yeah, no, go for it.
It also, the lessons we've learned from that and that experience and their expertise also has residual benefit for us now, because as we see the cases are increasing and we are able to be in an in-person learning environment now. So it has, the contract is ended and we're still benefiting from that research and expertise.
Great. And then my last question was, I know that several parents have mentioned being supportive of temperature checks going in the schools, and I know that we got those infrared cameras as part of ours, and those, we bought them. They belong to us, correct?
Accurate. That's accurate.
So are there plans to use those again this year? Are we going to, and then I know that there's a lot of detailed information they can provide, so what's the limit of how we're going to use them?
Go ahead, Mr. Clay.
We will use them as a tool to help out. They are not meant to scan every single student coming into a building, because that would impede the flow of traffic. But if, for example, a class had several people that had symptoms, you would be able to very quickly use that. You could use it for a special event.
And it's mobile, so we have the ability to move it from one location to another.
We also, throughout the entire pandemic, have been uber sensitive about private information. And so we have been we want to encourage as much participation as possible, so we've ensured that privacy is maintained.
Okay, thank you. All of that's very helpful.
And one term that was slightly misused with the temperature scanning units is it recognized that there was a face and where to scan. That's a little bit different than facial recognition.
Yes, that is very different. Thank you for clarifying that. All right, I'm good.
All right. All right. Go ahead, Mrs. Bush.
Okay, I have several questions for you, Hank. Number one, this is a problematic contract. For one, it's a no bid. Number two, this is a company that was formed that has no prior history in working in the school districts. And it's very dangerous to not have line item billing. So when I got a chance to look at the amount of money that was billed for the contract or for the services per month, I could not identify what was done that was embedded into those fees. And so that's the reason why it becomes, because my background is in healthcare, and I used to do reimbursement, I used to do line item billing, and I've never seen a contract like this before, where you cannot identify what was done and what kind of services were rendered for the cost of services. So that's problematic. So in the contract, where it states on, I think, page 6, it says that we are to get anything, if we need those line item billings, we should be able to get that from Meharry Ventures. And I guess my first question is, where are they? I've never seen a PO being billed for a large sum of money and there's no itemization. Is there any itemization?
Dr. Battle, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Clay, you can respond.
Thank you. I would disagree that there's not itemization. Madam Chair, if you don't mind, this might take a while, but I'll read the itemization on the invoices. So it's things like data integration, aggregation, software maintenance. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 line items, itemization on that. For logistical planning and maintenance, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items on that. For resource distribution and maintenance, there's 2 items listed there. For planned BINEX administration, there are 3 items there. The COVID policy oversight, monitoring, and reporting, there are 2 items there. For program management, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 items there.
Mr. Clay, my apologies for interrupting, but
Thank
you. You can actually, Hank, you can actually pause on that, and if you can provide that information, that would be great, because that's something I have not been able to see, or the board has not ever been seen as far as these itemizations that you're speaking of right now. I know what we have received is a group or a bulk item billed per month. So if you have all that information, that's fine. You can disseminate that amongst the board. We're talking about everything is what I'm looking for monthly for the itemization.
Mr. Clay, if I'm not mistaken, we've circulated the itemization for this particular contract to the board.
That's exactly right. This is the same, I'm reading from what was sent to you all.
I haven't seen that, the itemization. If you're reading from it, I have not received that. If you want to forward that to me, that'd be great, because I have not received any itemizations, any breakdowns of the fees and services.
You asked for these specifically, and we provided those.
I haven't received, is what I'm saying.
Well, we can
So you
resend
provide
those
again.
because
Yeah,
they
you
have
can
been
resend
provided
it.
previously. Thank you, Mr. Clay.
Also, with the nurses, I know me and you spoke about the nurses, and you had said that they were paying them $125 per hour, $125, I'm sorry, yeah, $125 an hour. And it's listed on their contract that that's what they'll be doing as far as those, with those services with our nurses. You're shaking your head, but it's in the contract. So tell me about the nurses.
I'm sorry, Dr. Battle?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to make sure that as we're going through these questions, we can do so in a professional manner. We're always happy to respond to the questions, but I want to make sure my team has an opportunity to respond to the questions that are being presented and in a way that is most productive. Mr. Clay, you can go ahead and respond.
So Meharry Medical College has not invoiced us and did not provide nurses. What you're referencing is in the contract to provide, in the event that we needed them to provide nurses, at what rate they would bill us. That was not embedded in the monthly cost. That would have been an add-on, which we did not solicit. They did not provide, they did not bill for us, and we have not paid.
Okay, so no nurses inside those itemizations, is that correct?
Dr. Battle?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Clay, you may respond.
There may be a person who is a nurse, but no, they did not provide nurses to us as you're referring under the nursing contract.
Correct.
So just so I'm clear, when you just said it may be a nurse, was it a registered nurse or was it just a?
I will actually respond to this one. We contract with the Metro Health Department for nurses in our schools. That's who provides nurses to our schools. They might contract out for additional nurses as a part of their recruitment process, but our contract is specifically with the Metro Health Department.
Yeah, I know it's with the health department, but I'm referring back to the contract. So the contract had nurses at a rate of pay of $125 an hour. Again, I'm specifically looking at the contract. If I see it in there, that's what I'm asking about. It's not trying to go, I know where our nurses are contracted to the health department. I just wanted to make sure that my question was answered when it came to the nurses that I saw inside the contract.
So, Mr. Clay, if I can ask you directly here, did we pay Meharry for nurses?
No.
Thank you.
Okay. Again, I want to see all of the itemizations of what Meharry did, the services that were rendered, because that is the question of the stakeholders. I can't answer those questions. This came up because of stakeholders in the community that wanted to know and wanted to know answers that they needed to know. I don't know those answers to those questions. And when you have members of the community that are questioning a contract like this, which the rates are very egregious to have the same rates of services every month. And it just gets real tricky and it gets real, it's just become red flags. And so that's the reason why I wanted to bring it up, so that we can be transparent and making sure using federal dollars that it is utilized according to what the services that were rendered. And that's the reason why the itemization is always important, so that you'll be able to see line item billing. And if you have all the line item billing, then that's what I want to see.
Dr. Battle?
Just in response to that, and for the sake of transparency, the itemization has been provided to the board and at the request when we've received them. And so there is itemization. That itemization has been shared. And just again, for the record, that did not include billing us for nurses as a part of that contract.
And again, I haven't received it, so if it could be forwarded to me, that would be great. If the rest of the board has already received it, that's great. I just haven't received it, so I can put my eyes on it.
Any other questions, Ms. Bush?
How soon can I get that information?
Dr. Battle?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Yes, how soon we could get the information, the itemization that was sent to us?
We typically will recirculate that in our updates to the board, so we'll make sure it's included.
When would be the update? I was just trying to get a timeline.
I always submit those updates to the board by the end of the day on Friday at the latest.
Okay, so in your board report, your report, director's report?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
But I don't want that grouping. I want itemization, because I got that before. I saw that. I don't want that bulk billing, is what I was saying before.
We will provide what is considered itemization, the itemization report as a part of that update.
Again, I don't want no bulk billing. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm
We
not
keep
sure
going
what
back and forth with bulk, because you're putting all of the money into one pot to say this was 4 things that were embedded into $2.3 million. We need to see itemization of the services that were rendered for each school that they provided services for. And that's what's important.
Thank you, Mrs. Bush. So Dr. Battle says she will send that back out to the board by end of business Friday. Do you have any other questions before we move on to Mr. Little?
My only question is, with just so much discussion, what will we do differently if this were to come about again? As we look at Delta variant surging and we think about like bringing someone in to help keep our kids in school, what will we do different? What are some of the things that you learned that you may do different or keep the same when it comes to contracting?
Dr. Battle, how would you like to respond?
Oh, sorry. And you can, maybe not.
I don't know if that's a question for you, Mr. Clay. It might be a question for Ms. Roberge.
To echo what Mr. Clay said, the best practice would be to have an RFP procedure. And so if that is something that we anticipate potentially needing, we would recommend getting that process started.
Okay.
So we would need an RFP if we were to want to render any services in the manner in which Harry partner, MNCV, thank you, partner with us this prior school year. But again, let's not lose the context about the dire need we had back in the fall to get our kids back in the in-person learning option for those families who chose. Let's also not forget that throughout the spring semester, when we were able to offer the in-person learning environment, we had a continuity of learning operation for our students. So we did not, in the spring, have to close one school at any point in time. And this partnership is to be acknowledged for that work, because they were able to be very responsive for us to help us contain when we did have potential outbreaks in our school community. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And with that, we will move on to announcements. We'll begin with Dr. Gentry from District 1.
Okay, very good. Good God. So I just wanted to echo, I wrote her name down, but Ms. Cassie's comment that it was a joyful first day of school, in spite of the traffic, which I literally forgot was going to be a thing this morning, that we were on time. But just in writing from the furthest northernmost part of the county all the way down through District 1, it was just wonderful to see the students gathered and actually excited, even the high school students, about returning to school. The teachers out there lining the walkways and enthusiastically inviting the children in. Haynes had those little billowy character things going. The Churchwell and Crestwell teachers were out there in force. Haynes had a big tent set up, and so it was really, really great to see them. I also want to share that Dr. Griffin and I and other members of MNPS got the opportunity to celebrate the ribbon cutting at Whites Creek High School for their indoor facility. You can all be jealous. We'll appreciate it. We'll take it. One-of-a-kind facility within MNPS. They have filled in what used to be their pool. All I wanted to do was jump up and down on the floor. They really wouldn't let me. Mr. Churchwell talked about me breaking bones. It was horrible. I was really treated poorly, but it was a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. We had some band members there and some majorettes, so all the students are very excited. What was also very exciting was to see the support from other schools within the cluster. So Dr. Beard was there, and she'd already booked an event to bring her students over to the facility, and just to hear her and Dr. Mills talk about the collaboration that's going on within the cluster with Haynes and on the other feeder schools into Whites Creek was very, very exciting. I'm going to say it anyway. I also want to point out when we talk about mandates and executive orders in the midst of this pandemic, in spite of what we may think or believe it is, our very own governor has issued what I call calling out the Coast Guard, an executive order that is going to give out-of-state physicians the ability to practice in the state of Tennessee, and give retired healthcare professionals the ability to practice within facilities here in the state of Tennessee, because he does, in spite of what has not happened in this state. I think he does recognize the seriousness of what's going on. As an employee, a current employee of HCA Healthcare, we are monitoring numbers. We have reestablished our war rooms on corporate campus, and our emergency management teams are meeting daily, looking at the dashboards and watching the numbers of our facilities that are over capacity, units that we've converted to COVID wards, and children's hospitals that are at capacity, especially in the state of Florida, and as has been pointed out, here in the state of Tennessee, the children's hospitals are full with COVID patients. So I appreciate the commitment of those parents who are encouraging their students to mask up. My child doesn't like it. I don't like it, but we know that it is necessary. And so we're here to do what's necessary for the greater good. Thank you, Ms. Buggs.
Thank you. Mrs. Pupo-Walker.
I want to thank all of the board members and staff that helped onboard our new student board members on Friday. Spent some time with them in the morning, and they're excited. They will be sworn in by Judge Callaway, our first meeting in September, and will be up here with us, and so we will be on our best behavior in front of the children. And I suspect they're going to have a lot of good things to say. I do. We are going to host a community meeting on next Wednesday on the 19th from 6 to 7 at Hillsborough to discuss the future of the Stokes property on Belmont Boulevard. I've already heard from the 1959 graduate from Stokes about that meeting, so it promises to be a good one. I want to thank Pencil and all the partners that are helping us now deliver services to our kids, programs, organize volunteers, organize resources. It is going to be something that I think everybody can pitch in, and I'm thankful for that. And then I know we had a lot of emotional testimony here tonight, and people were tearful on both sides. I think it's fair to say that this pandemic has been hard on every single person on this planet, regardless of what you believe or what you know to be true. And I think we just have to acknowledge that people are struggling, no matter what position they're in. But I want to encourage our parents and anybody else to not penalize or go after our teachers and our administrators on masks. Let us come here and tell us about it, which you did tonight. Let us be the ones that take your frustration. Principals and teachers are doing what we've asked them to do. They are not the deciders on this. And so I hope we can all agree that I'm willing to take that on their behalf, and I know that they're going to do everything they can to make it as good a situation as possible, in a very difficult situation. So, okay, that's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Pupo-Walker. Mrs. Bush?
Yes, I just wanted to give a little report of the back-to-school bash or celebration that was done in District 6. I was very proud of the outcome. We gave over 1,500 backpacks and school supplies to students so they could go back in school in style. And the event was a huge success. We had over maybe 2,500, 3,000 people out at the Southeast Community Center. And I just want to give a shout out to Stronger Than My Father, who partnered with me with this amazing event. And it probably will be an annual event, so I'm really excited about that. So we'll be working next year to do the same thing for our students. And I just want to give a shout out to all of my principals and teachers in District 6 and across this district. I am so proud of the first day of school and how successful it was. I heard nothing but great things, and I'm really excited. And my last son. I don't have one boy now going to in high school. Normally he has 2 or 3 brothers that are in school with him, and now he is the only Bush boy. So I am so excited to have a 10th grader, and he's by himself without his brothers, and I'm so proud of him. And I'm almost an empty nester, but they do come back home. So thank you guys, and have a good night.
Mr. Little?
Just wanted the Pencil back to school pep rally was a success. Got a chance to play basketball, eat pizza, and really celebrate teachers last week. Want to give a big shout out to Dr. Armstrong and the DuPont Hadley team. Set with the support staff, stuff envelopes, but really listen to what they do as support staff to really support the children. I mean, they talked about giving rides, taking food, clothes, and it was really heartfelt to listen to them. Second, the McGavick Jamboree. The new and improved Mighty McGavick football team is having their Jamboree this Thursday. As you walk into the school, you can see that a change is upon them, and it brings a lot of happiness not only to the football players, but to the students. Third, Nashville Propel as school starts back up. As we look at families who still may need school supplies, we're having a back-to-school bash in partnership with Mount Carmel, with Bishop and Lady Campbell this Saturday from 11 to 3 at the church. Another event, Silence to Violence, this Saturday with Reverend Lewis, who is going to be at Hadley Park. It's packed today to talk about education and how we end youth violence. And I wanted to do a moment of silence for Braylon Murray, who was killed to gun violence, although it was in Memphis. I've been knowing this kid since he was 11, had a bright future as a senior. And sadly, also Rolanda Stewart, who was one of our fellowship alum at Nashville Propel. She passed away today. And so I just wanted to do a moment of silence for those 2 individuals. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Player-Peters.
No, but I hope everyone had a happy first day. I hope we have a healthy and long and productive in-person school year.
Thank you. Mrs. Masters.
Thank you. I wanted to give a few updates about activities of the Parent Advisory Council. They now have a website up and running and social media accounts. On Twitter, it's at MNPS PAC, so at MNPS PAC. They have the first district-wide PAC meeting on August 31st, and it will be 100% virtual. So that will be streamed, and you can get to that through that Twitter account. They also, some of the things that we've done together over the course of this past month is they met with the Metro Council Education Committee at City Hall, and we're very grateful to Tanya Hancock for being our liaison to Metro Council. They also invited Chair Buggs and myself to participate in an information session on Tennessean.com, just talking about masks and COVID and all the things we can do to be safe in school. Our PAC chair and one of the secretaries were featured in a Chalkbeat article. And they also had a meeting with Ashford Hughes to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion and the Family Engagement Department. I know they're also going to be talking to Dr. Changas about how they can get involved with spreading the word about the student dashboard. And then we also have coming up, starting in September, we'll be having town hall style meetings as a part of my work as advocacy chair for the board, but also as PAC liaison, where they'll be tackling different topics with each of those just to help spread awareness. And I'm just so grateful for the advocacy of this group of parents. I think we've seen, what can happen when parents decide to get involved and advocate beyond just their own households. And I think the PAC is a really amazing example of that work. They are still looking for some representatives. Ms. Bush, they actually met a woman at your event who wants to be the Antioch cluster, and I need to get that person's contact information if you have it. So we still need someone from Stratford cluster. There's a few others. They sent me a lot of notes, y'all. So, so if you're interested in getting involved, please reach out because we want to have representatives from across the entire district. I'm very excited about this. And then I also just want to say thanks to District 3, everyone, but specifically District 3 for having a really great first day of school. My guy had his first day of 8th grade, and I did cry. So I don't know what's wrong with you, Christian. I cry every first day of school, but came out all smiles. And I'm just so appreciative of all the work that is taking place in our schools every day. And I'm going to stop talking now in case I start crying again. So.
Thank you, Mrs. Masters. Mrs. Tyler?
I have several. So I met with the District 9 bus drivers yesterday, and I just kind of want to reiterate on the floor what I talked about with them is that our schools can't function without bus drivers because we got to get our kids there and we got to get them home. And they are such an important key piece to what our schools need and what our schools can provide. And they are often the first Metro employee face that a kid sees walking on the bus, and they're the last one that they see getting off the bus. And when they create relationships with those students, they make that first and last touch memorable and positive. And so I just wanted to, yesterday I was able to thank the District 9 bus drivers, but I want to take a minute and thank every bus driver that works in Metro because you guys are irreplaceable, and we want to make sure that you know that we care and that we are supporting you and recognize how important you are. So that's my little bus thing. And then I wanted to advocate for finding a way to keep our students safe but have a little bit of flexibility so that students will be able to have their needs met. So I want to encourage parents or PTOs to look at getting masks that have the clear spot to donate. I just bought enough masks with clear spots to do kindergarten and first grade in my son and daughter's school, and they'll be passed out there. It would be great if we could use some ESSER funds to do that, but I'm afraid that if we wait to do that, it will be too far into the school year. So again, I would love to have that kind of support, but in the meantime, if our community could step up and look for our young students as a way to kind of engage and help make this an easier process. And finally, if you would like to volunteer, we talked about it a little while ago, but if you want to come in and you want to tutor, you want to be part of that high dosage tutoring, we would love to have you. We will train you so that you know how to do it, and you just need to go to pencil4schools.org, and it's spelled out F-O-R, not the number, pencil4schools.org, and there's a spot where you can volunteer, and it'll let you sign in, and you can sign in as a group if you have a group of people who are willing to do it, or as an individual. So please come and help us. Let's get our kids back on track the best we can, and just glad for our first day of school and looking forward to a good year.
Thank you, Mrs. Tyler. I think it's important to note, especially with tonight's conversation around critical race theory or about curriculum, that the state of Tennessee, the Department of Education, has released guidance on how districts will be impacted if complaints are filed, but there's still time for you to make your voice heard through tomorrow evening or tomorrow at 5:00 p.m. If you visit tn.gov, go to legal services, public notices, and then you will see the bill that was voted on, prohibited concepts in public education. You can offer your thoughts. I cannot stress it enough how important that is to make your voice heard around what curriculum looks like or how we're able to teach curriculum in MNPS. I would also like to say thank you to Jones Padea Elementary School and all of its partners. Had a great back-to-school bash a couple of days ago, and we were given big bags of food, masks, toiletries. I mean, the community really does wrap their arms around Jones, and I'm so excited to have my little baby in that school. I remember a parent saying, that she wasn't able to see her child's cubby last year. I wasn't able to see my child's cubby this year. It was his first day of school. This is his first in, 14 years of education. I missed that milestone, but it's not about me. It is about our children and their safety. It's about the educators and the people, not individualized wants or desires. I also want to just shout out Pearl Cone for all the work that they do to bring the cluster together. They're really doing a great job of helping me connect with other Jones parents. The MNPS PAC is also, wrapping their arms around me. I appreciate that. Also, hubnashville.gov. If you've ever heard of participatory budgeting, Mayor Cooper is allocating some funding to North Nashville. Please visit hubnashville.gov or email PB, that's for participatory budget, at nashville.gov to look at how funding in North Nashville can be disseminated in a way that really supports the district, that really supports the city long term. I will just continue to say that schools really are where community issues bubble up. And if we're not going to talk about these in silos, we've got to be giving a call to action to the community to really embed their voices and their bodies and their minds and their finances into what will best support our students. But with that being said, be there no further business. This meeting is adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.